These are the iRacing Esport World Championships, the pinnacle of sim racing competition. You can catch it all season long, live coverage on iRacing.com/live.
I actually, really enjoy dirt racing. Feels good to get in the car, and we have, great cars and engines and things at KKR, so it's nice to drive a fast sprint car.
Couple of separate lines developing, three wide action on a turn two. Craig Kinzer, Casey Kane, and Kieran Pittman going at it.
I think the differences between, NASCAR and the sprint races on dirt is just a much different mindset. The way you drive your cars, the setup, the feel you're looking for. I think one of the hardest things to tell as a fan is when you're watching a race, whether it's a NASCAR race, a dirt race, is just what's really going on in the car. With iRacing, you can get the way that the track's changing, which they've done a great job in how the track changes throughout the night or throughout the race, just to try to capture it and let the fans play it and realize, like, man, there's actually a lot going on, and you can't always see that when you watch a race. So I think it's pretty neat. It's, enjoyable for me, but at the end of the day, it's actually much of a simulation, and there's a lot of ways that you can learn from that. And, early on, it was neat to look at the Cup tracks that I was going to, places that I had never been. So I think it kind of gives you a head start leading into a weekend. It's pretty real life, and that's pretty neat.
When I was 16 years old, I was working in a Goodyear tire store, and my boss actually built an old dirt car, street stock Monte Carlo. Went with him one night, fell in love with it. It was a hell of a race, hell of a party, and a big fight afterwards. I was like, this is it. This is it for me. It wasn't long after that, I was driving an old 78 Camaro out of the weeds at that guy's farm. We pulled that thing out and made a race car out of it, and away we went. I think a driver has more to do with the equation going back and racing dirt, whether it's a modified, a late model. You can do more with the race car. The harder you drive it, a lot of times, the better it goes. You can crawl up on that wheel and feel like you made the difference at the end of the night. Asphalt car, you can't overdrive them. Well, that was the first thing that I had to learn right off the bat is, oh my gosh, I've got to discipline myself, not overdrive this thing, and that's how you get the most out of it. Truth be told, communicating the right information to your crew and your crew chief so they can do their job and make their appropriate adjustments for you to go faster and do your job is probably 90% of the game in our world. I've always loved late models. You know, my dream was to be a late model driver driving for a living across the country like Daryl and Don do that drive for me. I mean, that was, truth be told, that was my dream, you know. I always wanted a semi. I always wanted a stacker trailer with 2 hot rods in it and let's go racing. Let's take off with your buddies and go race and chase that dream. Never in a million years did I think it would turn into a Cup Series, and I actually have an opportunity to own 2 dirt late model teams. When you think of iRacing, you don't think of a video game. It's not. It's way above and beyond any of that. You know, dirt racing changes so much. The track changes so much. Being able to capture that, to experience all those details that surround dirt racing and make dirt racing what it is what makes iRacing so cool, because they did nail all of that. I knew when they came to our shop and scanned cars and went to the detail of getting that car right, I knew that it was going to be over the top, because it blew my mind just the work that went into making sure the car itself was legit. This sport has been around a long time. The competition can't be replaced, and that's what brings people back to the racetrack week in and week out.
The following is a presentation of iRacing.com Motorsport Simulations on LSRTV, the voice of sim racing.
Live tonight from the Myrtle Beach Speedway, LSRTV. Happy to say good evening, sim racing fans, and welcome to the 6th week of the Myrtle Beach Simulation Series presented by the Championship Esports Association on your home for sim racing and iRacing Live. We're happy to have you tonight, as noted, for the 6th week of contest on this 2017-2018 campaign, and as we get set for 5 feature races on the evening, we welcome you topside into the LSRTV broadcast booth. As always, myself, Evan Pasoko, joined by Austin Coop and Chris Murdoch, topside with you. The lovely and talented Cisco Scarabus is downstairs, twisted and tweaking at aisles and bringing us to you this evening. And Coop, coming off of a special event not all that long ago, have another one interjected into tonight's action. We'll have some of our regular series in action. We'll get to all of those in a moment, and of course that includes the opening race on the evening as the Super Trucks get ready to go racing. But tonight is the 305 Win Sprint feature evening, and that's going to be the main event, the excited one. Non-points for excitement right smack dab in the middle of the night.
Yeah, I've known about this event for quite a while, actually. Kyle Barnes and I had talked about it a few weeks ago and wondered if we could actually do it, and I was really on the fence about how this would be, but I've heard some really good things from the practice and the R&D session from the Championship Esports Association. I've heard really good things about it. It's going to be a lot of fun for them. Of course, it's it's gonna be competitive, I'd say, but it's gonna be a lot of fun just to watch them go around here in something that's not really meant for asphalt. So that'll be really cool to see. But first up, it'll be the trucks for 25 laps, and we'll have our 75 lap late model stock feature, then the 305 sprint U-Car feature, which I'll race in, of course, and then the 25 lap super truck feature to end out their twin.
And with only 5 races tonight, as opposed to, I think, the 6 that we've been seeing in the last couple of weeks, Chris, it does mean, though, as Coop had just noted, that we do get 2 twin super truck features, as it has been all season. The starting grid for that second one at the end of the night going to be based on an invert on the finishing results in this one. Those 25-lap ones, very short. Same with the U-Cars as well. Those wing sprints are going to be exciting, but the late models is the big thing I'm looking at. Long race in those. It's been a couple of weeks since we've seen a feature in those cars in excess of 50 laps, so that should be a big one as far as looking at the overall championship for this season.
It really is, Evan, and that's probably one of the most competitive series we've got going on at the Myrtle Beach Speedway right now. They're so fast, and you're able to get up there and run that high line and bump and beat and bang, and it's the best combination for this short track, in my opinion. So I'm really excited to see those late models back in action.
It'll be an exciting one, no doubt. That one going to be a little bit later on this evening as we get set to go racing for the first 2 races on the evening in daytime conditions. The sun will go down, the lights will come on, beginning with that 305 winged sprints feature a little bit later. But the Super Trucks back in action tonight. And with that, we go trackside and take a look at your LSRTV starting grid. Tommy Ryan in the Northern Tool and Equipment Chevrolet will start tonight from pole. Best lap at 18.529 brings us to the green flag tonight, joined on the front row by the 8 of James Carhula. DJ Beverly and Jody Green going to make up row number 2. They start inside in 3rd and outside in 4th respectively, with Randy Oakham big pickup warm up to qualifying, rounding out your top 5.
Christian Peterson, he'll start in the 6th position, and you've got Matthew Tucker, Gabe Wood, and Ricky Harden starting in the 7th, 8th, and 9th position here on the 9-car truck field tonight.
It is a look top to bottom. This is the 3rd time this season, Chris, that we're going to see the Super Trucks at a racetrack. They are the largest vehicles that we see in this Myrtle Beach Simulation Series, and we haven't seen them since week number 3 when James Carhula took home the win in them, and in those prior 2 races, Christian Peterson won the first race in those Super Trucks, so yet to see a repeat winner in these things. Your pole sitter looking for his first.
Yeah, and Ryan has been really strong and really consistent in these series, just been caught by bad luck in a few of these races, so looking to turn that around, and what better way to start by on the front row, and you can get really aggressive with these trucks, so I'm excited to see how they handle these 25 laps.
It is not a long time around the Myrtle Beach Speedway. This race does have a 13-minute time limit should caution flags slow down the event. But nonetheless, 25 laps of the trucks is not the most efficient way to get around this place. And I think the big thing that we mentioned last time we saw these guys a couple of weeks back was the fact that, hey, these guys got fenders. Some of the cars don't. The wing sprints a little bit later on certainly do not. If there's any series in this Myrtle Beach Simulation series that lends itself to a little bit of extra contact, it will be this one. And we're happy to get our night kicked off for the first of 2 Super Truck features on the evening. The iRacing.com official pace car is going to make the sharp left-hand turn down to the safety of the pit lane, and the field is going to be in the hands of Tommy Ryan, looking for his first Super Truck win on 2017. America Cadet that all green flag flies, and we're off and away. Dead heat to turn 1.
Yeah, a lot of close action already on the track. You still got side by side with James Krahula on the outside, but that's going to die down just a little bit like it always does typically in turn number 2. But everybody kind of had a really decent start. It wasn't something that you didn't have guys going all over the place, but you do have a good break for the first 2 positions with James Krahula and Tommy Ryan. We did talk about Tommy Ryan for a little bit, and he has been really consistent up there. You've seen him all the time towards the front, so really good to see him up towards the front. He's had the pole quite a few times, more than he's won, and I'm sure he'd like to make that statistic a little bit better in his favor.
Drivers single filing out early on. Ricky Harding got a little bit sideways at a turn number 2 when he opened a lap. He dropped back a little bit and is trying to work his way back up past Gabe Wood. That one's a battle for 7th position. Harding's got a pretty fast truck. He'll go back down to the inside. This one going on about 2 seconds off of the battle for the race lead. And while they are single file up front, not to say it isn't a battle, Krahula keeping Ryan honest, but at least at the moment, only side by side is just outside the top 5.
Yeah, and look just behind James Krahula and Ryan. That's going to be that 23 of Christian Peterson knocking on the back bumper of the 42 of DJ Beverly. He's been there the past 2 laps. You can see him trying to get down there, not that much speed going down as you see him try to dive it down onto the inside going into turns 1 and 2, moving that 42 up the racetrack. He should have the run coming off of turn number 2, and he does, so trying to get even with him, but still even battling that 42.
And at 42, Michigan Beverly on the outside, a little bit tight that time with Peterson getting close to the left rear. Not on the inside down the straight, but Beverly's going to give him the inside of the racetrack. Peterson going to jump back down there and try to make it a fight side by side in the ongoing fight for 3rd. It's good news for Ron and Krahula. If these guys continue to fight, the top 2 should be able to pull away about equidistant, still between 1st and 2nd at about 3/10 of a second. But Beverly back there as we watch that battle, using every single inch of this racetrack, who just brushed the fence. That time coming out at turn number 2, but hurt his momentum a little bit because Peterson threw on the inside, plus 3 on the evening up to 3rd, looking for a 2nd Super Truck win this year.
The crazy thing about the number 23 right there is that he was actually just as fast as everyone in front of him while he was still being pressed on the bottom. So he just got a 10th on Krahula, and I bet you he'll get another one here as he's actually looking very solid here.
Oh, the 42 drifting and gonna knock the inside wall just a bit.
Yeah, I don't know if when he got into the outside fence there, Chris, if that really hurt the car. I didn't think so. But after he lost that position, got sideways twice that lap, and you caught it down in turn number 3, now that car is a lot more heavily damaged after getting into the inside fence once more. I think the biggest loss there is he lost a lot of ground. Started inside of the top 3, and I believe he'll come across the start-finish line P6.
Yeah, that car...
All the while, right here on the backstretch, you've got Christian Peterson getting around James Krahula for P number 2, and he's come up on the field quite quickly, and that's not something we're not too used to. Actually gets in the wall, which is something we don't typically see from him, but right now he is definitely the fastest truck on track, still faster than everybody else, including leader Tommy Ryan, who wants to try and keep him behind him. Last thing he wants is any kind of stoppage to the action right now. 25 laps, and we're only on lap 11, coming to 12 right now. Can only imagine that with the pace that the 23 is doing right now, it's going to be only a matter of time before he's right there driving Ryan.
And as I said before the race started, it is Peterson who runs in a number 2 position at the moment that won the opening Super Trucks race on the season. Did not pick up the one the only other time we saw them in meet number 3. And caution flying is going to fly. And it is that 42 at EJ Beverly. Lost it on his own at a quarter number 2. And we slow things down right at the cross flags.
Yeah, that 42 of Beverly just seemed to struggle with the grip coming out of turn 2. You mentioned it earlier, Evan, with him getting loose on the backstretch and then almost losing it going down into turn 3. So not surprised there. Just not that much grip coming off the corner. You got to watch that in these trucks because they can go from tight center to very, very loose off real quick at these short tracks.
So this is obviously, I think, going to hurt the progress that Ryan was making, and I think it's hard to look at this, though, as a loss for Peterson or anybody else, just based on the fact that he was closing. Sure, it is going to hurt the momentum a tad bit, but instead of having to catch up by those 2-3 truck lengths or so that was remaining, Coopy's basically going to be right alongside him, depending on what lane he decides to take for the restart.
Yeah, and you got to feel for anybody else right now that's not Peterson right now. You just saw how much he was able to cut through the field, but I will say that Tommy Ryan will be able to use these caution laps to his advantage because he will be able to pick that line, which Peterson was not as good as Tommy when he was on the bottom, but Tommy's got to get himself a really good run. They'll have 10 laps to go here at the stripe, which will be a 10-lap dash to the finish.
And obviously, the age-old saying goes, cautions breed cautions. Is this going to be the first of many late race bouts as that Ford Mustang pace car of Jacob Porter drops off to the inside? He gives way to Tommy Ryan, race leader, control car for the restart, taking the outside line on the cone car. We'll see if he can clear the 23. The race down to turn number 1. Green flag flies once more, and it is a fantastic start for your race leader. Small challenge for P2. Hardin not going to be able to match topside. Peterson to second. Hardin to third. Krahula stays fourth as the 23 looks no now for the race lead.
Down to the very bottom of the track is where the 23 is going, and he's got himself a really good run off the turn number 4, but Ryan's going to be able to pull a little bit more. However, Peterson's got in the bottom. That's a really coveted position. Ryan goes a little bit high in the corner, and looks like they're going to be heads up right here on the backstretch, and Peterson's got the advantage, I'd say, on the bottom right now. The top is just not right where you would like it to be if you were right there. And it looks like he's going to get him barely at the line, but he'll have to clear him in order to complete this pass, I'd say, because Ryan's not going anywhere if he has anything to say about it. He's going to not clear him yet, but he's going to get him in 3.
Yeah, Ryan just barely held on the last time at a start-finish line by 1/1000th of a second. This time it is not going to happen. New race leader, first time at lap number 18. Christian Peterson is out and in front. And you have to think as the 6 overdrives it, spinner at a turn number 2. Caution for Tommy Ryan.
I don't think you could have said it any better. Just trying to get all he could off of turn 2, and it's basically what we seen from DJ Beverly just a few laps ago, coming off of turn 2 really hard, and the grip just wasn't there, just got real loose and lost it. So unfortunate for that 6. Just got passed for the second place position. Looks like he's going to be dropping a few more.
Should kick him all the way back at least to the tail end of the lead lap for being the cause of the caution flag. Right now, that would put it at about 7th spot. A couple of drivers out of this race. Randy Yoakum is 13 laps down at 9th, and James Krahula is 3 laps down at 8th position. None of them have technically retired from this race. Both cars still actively on the racetrack. They could get back out there if they wanted to. However, it looks like for all intended purposes, even if they did, their night are done, and they're going to be coming back at the tail end of the field. So we set up for, as we had maybe speculated there, for another late race restart. I think this time around, not what Christian Peterson wanted to see. Chris, I think it's fair to note that on both restarts we've seen tonight, the first at the initial start and that last one there, the control car was able to clear to turn number 1, but I think that it's just something that the 23 would rather not have to deal with. And if Peterson chooses the bottom, that's going to put Hardin in that top lane that he prefers.
Yeah, and Hardin was, you saw shades of him battling on that outside while they were getting on the start, and he was able to hang with Peterson for a little bit, but had to surrender coming off of 2 to third. So we'll have to see what that 15 has in store for this 23 as they get ready to go back green.
Race car going to drop down it in. Only going to be 3 laps left to go for Myrtle Beach Speedway. Basically, another yellow may just end this thing. So it might be your last chance to go to victory lane in the Super Trucks. Can the 23 get another one? Green flag flies and we go at it, and he is clear. Hardin, though, going to go uncontested for second. Dive down to P2. Will he get physical?
He's got to get to his bumper very quickly. He's got to do it here in the next couple corners because they'll only have 2 laps to go here at the stripe this time. Good battle for the 4th position as Gabe Wood gets a hard shove in there in turn number 4. He and Matthew Tucker are doing battle, but it's all eyes up front here, so we have the closing laps coming soon.
Side-by-side fight going to continue between Wood and Tucker. The Odada machine pretty damaged up on the outside of the racetrack, and they might just fight with each other through to the end of this thing. The 42 going to get into the mix as it is a fun fight. About 1 second, though, behind Christian Peterson, who took home the opening win in these Super Trucks on 2017, and he will become the first multi-time winner in this division as he comes at a turn number 4. Checkered flag for Peterson, winner in the Super Trucks tonight from week number 6.
And spinning behind him, Tommy Ryan coming out of turn 4, trying to push it on DJ Beverly, loses it out of turn 4 and will come across the line in that 7th place position. Unfortunate end to the race for that driver.
He did get passed up. You'll get a second look at it by the 8. That was not for position, so Tommy Ryan literally had nothing to lose by bonsaiing it down into turn number 3 and 4. Wasn't able to make it stick. Nonetheless, he will still come home inside of the lead lap finishers at a number 7 position. And Christian Peterson parks it on the start-finish line, a couple of feet from victory lane as the first driver to win 2 Super Truck wins on the season. And some celebrating for the driver of the number 23 machine coupe. I don't think that him starting to back in the pack was enough. We saw him get up there about 2/3 of the way through the race, look pretty strong come the end of this thing, and having won this one, he's going to have to go through traffic and again in the second Super Trucks feature, but based on how good he looked this time around, I don't think that'll be much of an issue.
Oh yeah, he's definitely going to put on a show in the next race as well as he did in this one. You know, got to the front when it mattered. You know, just with a handful of laps left, and that's what you've got to do if you need to win a race. It's short, like it says in the comment section here. But if you can get up to the front, you've got a short run car. I mean, or truck in this case. You've got to go, and you can't make any mistakes, and you can't slow down at any point.
We'll catch up, if we can, with your race winner in just a moment. First, let's take a look at your LSRTV full race results for what has been the 3rd Super Truck race this season, but only the first of 2 on the night. Christian Peterson started from P6. He takes the checkered flag. It was a night full of big movers. It's Ricky Harden who comes home in second, picked up 7 spots. It is your biggest mover for this event. Jody Green get to come home to number 3 spot tonight, with Gabe Wood picking up 4 to come home in 4th, and Matthew Tucker rounds out our top 5.
DJ Beverly will finish out 6th, Tommy Ryan 7th, James Grahula and Randy Yoakum finish laps down in 8th and 9th.
Look at your full race results. We'll see if we can catch up with the driver of the number 23 machine or not. Again, one of his many wins on the season, and we will see if we have Christian Peterson on the radio, your Super Truck winner tonight. Christian, you got us?
Yeah, I got you guys.
Well, congratulations. First off, these are trucks that you've won before. You took home the inaugural win in these things back on week number 1 and had to start in the middle of the pack for this one, right in the thick of things. That truck, though, looked nice and good, and you kind of calm and collectively worked your way through the field, didn't force the issue, and was able to get the job done. Tell us about it.
Yeah, the truck was really good. I did a little testing like after the last time we drove these here, and I did a little testing in the daytime. I knew this one was going to be in the, not at night, so got the car hooked up, and I was a little worried about James and Tommy there because they were looking really strong. James was really strong last time we ran these things, so I was a little worried about that. But once I got up to 3rd, and they weren't too far ahead, I was feeling pretty good about being able to get up to their rear bumpers and have something for them.
Obviously, we're going to see these things again later on in the evening, and the objective anytime you got a doubleheader when you win the first is to be able to lock it up and finish out the evening and do it later on. That one, you're not really going to be in that different of a position. We were just talking about it having to come to the field. The invert's going to put you maybe 1 or 2 spots deeper in the pack than you were in this one. It's still only going to be 25 laps. You don't get any extra time to make it up, but do you still feel confident that you'll be able to do what you did in this one later on tonight with a little bit more of a challenge ahead of you?
Yeah, I think we got a really good start in this one and got up a couple spots on the first 2 laps. So if we can do that in the next one, you get up to where we started in the first couple laps in this one, then yeah, we should be able to track them down. But I think James is going to be on the pole for the next one, so we'll probably need a caution or 2 to get us back bunched up once if I make it through the field.
We look forward to that one to close out the evening. Still plenty of racing between now and then, so we'll let you get to it before we do the sponsors and the shout-outs. It makes it happen for you.
Just everybody, Vince here, 6-man, Beast Racing. I just joined those guys over there for all the world tour events, so that's been a lot of fun. You guys for broadcasting, everybody who puts on the show, everybody who shows up.
Well, we appreciate your time as always, Christian. Congratulations once more. The night is still young. Best of luck. Hopefully we'll have an opportunity to chat down the road.
Sounds good. Thank you.
The race winner tonight in the Super Trucks, Christian Peterson, second on the season. He'll have an opportunity to go for a third later on tonight. Before then, though, the main event is coming up next, a 75-lap late model stock feature presented by Blue Ridge Napa. That's next at LSRTV and iRacing Live. We'll be back to the Myrtle Beach Speedway in just a moment.
When I sat in the car, you always wonder, what's it going to feel like? It was my first time driving a mid-engine GT car. My thoughts were, wow, this is really good for our first time in a car. I was really surprised by it. You're sitting low, you got the A-pillars at steep angles, the windshields at steep angles, you can see the fender flares. I think we have a chance to win. Everything's got to go right, but I think we have a car that can win the race or be on the podium. But can you imagine how cool that would be to go back 50 years later to the year and do it?
Welcome back live to the Myrtle Beach Speedway as LSRTV's continuing coverage of the Myrtle Beach Simulation Series presented by the Championship Esports Association continues into week number 6 tonight. And we've already kicked off the evening with a checkered flag by Christian Peterson, winning our opening Super Truck main event on the night. He'll have an opportunity to go for 2 later on this evening, but the longest race due up next, Coop, in these late model stock stocks. And as always, coverage of this late model stock series is brought to you by Napa of Blue Ridge, Virginia. Napa is your trusted source for automotive parts, accessories, and know-how for your car, truck, or SUV. You can shop online for original OEM and replacement parts at NapaOnline.com. And with it being a 75 lapper, a lot more of a conventional styled short track race than what a lot of these short sprints are. A lot more time for some strategy to become a factor as tires wear over the course of the evening.
Yeah, something we've always got to remind ourselves and remind the drivers in particular is that you can't come down for tires. You know, when it's a 25 lapper, you know, coming down for pits, coming down to the tires wouldn't really seem very feasible, or really, you know, it only hurt you. But when you come to a track like this, you know, you think, oh, pit stops, but those aren't anything that you can do about it because they don't have tires in the pits. And if you do come down pit road and try and jack the car up, well, you'll get disqualified. So that's basically the scenario that a lot of these drivers are in. That you can only do what you got on the track. Once your car is off of pit road, there's nothing else you can really do about it. You can maybe make an adjustment on the right rear, but that's about it. And then you've got your in-car brake bias as well. So what you've got is typically what you've got, and you've got to take care of it. And that's what these races are all about.
We take a look at the championship standings, Chris. Coming into this one, it is Christian Peterson at the top of the pile, despite the fact that he, with air quotes, only has one win this year. It does have him at the top of the board, though, nonetheless. Matt Cucker's 3 wins have him second, only 4 points back. And then Brandon Wilkinson, also with 1 trip to victory lane, is only 8 points back in third. Most of the series, if not all besides this one, we're talking about a double-digit point spread between first and second. So this series, with the most races out of any so far to this point this year, with the most drivers, average per race out of any other divisions this year, also just happens to be the most competitive.
Yeah, and it's, as I said earlier, this is, like you said, the most competitive between Cucker and Peterson, and a few others can fight their way up there. But you said that Christian Peterson atop of the board despite Cucker having these wins, but it just goes to show how consistency is key at these short tracks, especially with these long races that we're about to see up right now. 75 laps, a lot can happen in 75 laps. It doesn't seem like a lot of time on paper, especially around this short track, but there's a lot of stuff that can go wrong in 75 laps.
And again, well, this may be our main event, if you will, on the evening. Make sure to stick with us after this one. Still 3 races to come following this checkered flag. That 30-lap 305 winged sprints feature, followed by a 25-lap U-Car Division main event, and then to close out the night later on this evening, in a couple of hours or so, the 25-lap Super Truck feature to close out week number 6. That being said, though, once again, we go trackside and take a look at your LSRTV starting grid for what is our 6th Napa Late Models Division feature on the season. And it is going to be Connor Blaze on a pole position for this one. The driver of the 56 just barely edging out championship leader Christian Peterson, who would join him on the front row in second. Tanner Cook going to start third tonight with Matt Cucker right there in the number 4 spot. Tommy Ryan, another solid qualifying effort for him tonight, will start from P5.
Starting in the 6th position is going to be Ricky Harden. Then you've got Jeremy Adams starting the 7th position. 8th place will start DJ Beverly. Jody Green starts 9th. And then James Grahula will start in the 10th position.
Jonathan Smith will be on the inside in that P11. 12th goes to Richard Reagan Jr. Jacob Porter going to be starting 13th. 14th goes to Gabe Wooden, rounding out your top 15, the 66 of Jonathan Lawrence.
Nathan Hurlburt is going to be 16th position in this one with Jeremy Watkins and John Lyday making up Rhode Island in 17th and 18th position. In the back of row number 10, 19th spot tonight for Tyler Lugo Vickery, and Robbie Bundin rounds out your top 20.
Brandon Yoakum, Brandon Wilkinson, Colin Alman, Kyle Everall, and Rory Blum will finish out the 25-car field 21st to 25th tonight.
It is a long race. That means that the drivers at the back of the pack have more opportunities to fight for a better finishing position than they would if it was a 25-lap event, absolutely. But pacing yourself early is going to be absolutely imperative, as this racetrack likes to eat up on those tires, and you cannot come down to get fresh ones. You're going to have to work with what you got over the course of this entire main event. But we're ready to rock and roll once more from Myrtle Beach Speedway, headed to the American Ethanol Green Flag as we go off and away. No clear advantage inside nor outside to turn number 1. Now Blaze tries to pull in front with Peterson hanging onto the quarter panel.
Yeah, Blaze has been really fast these last couple times they've been in these cars, and of course you've got Peterson, Cook, and Cucker right in tow behind him, and these 4 guys, I bet they're going to be the ones to try and beat tonight, as they have got fast cars. And can't forget about Ricky Harden behind them as well. He was doing really well in the last race as well, so look at those top 5 kind of just spread a little bit out, and you've got a lot of fights behind them.
Single file, at least up front for the moment. Side by side, a little bit deeper back, and it's a big problem deeper back. That 42 of DJ Beverly, I believe, got hooked from 8th spot, and it was just a log jam on the inside from there. Looked like the 10 being a little bit aggressive on the inside. Smith trying to make it 3 wide in 2 lanes.
Yeah, and it's just as you said, the 10 was going to drive it down in there 3 wide, just not enough room for all 3 cars to fit in that situation there, Evan. So the 42, gets turned, and then it's just a big pile up. The 3 of Porter, the 40, the 28, everybody getting a little bit of piece of that, and then cars just piling in, because there's cars everywhere at this point. The 40 going up the track, collecting the 87, the 90, just cars everywhere in that mess.
That's what you expect to see if something like that happens, both right in the middle of the pack, but of course also just a couple of laps off of the restart, just simply because everybody is going to be so tightly packed together, and it wasn't really a lot of guys over driving or under braking, any of that was going on in front. Coop just basically had no opportunity to try to get up and out of the way, and that has us under this very early caution flag out of this 75 flat mid event. Just as all these other events are, it rarely comes into play, but just want to note in accordance with what we do every single time around is that it is a 75 lap main event, but the race does have a 30-minute time limit on it, so it cannot exceed that amount of time. We have seen, I believe, only 1 or 2 races all season long hit the time clock so far, but that's just something to keep an eye on as we pace early on at lap number 5. Race control was also talking with the drivers pre-race about trying to give them 1 additional lap under caution to allow them to spend more time at the pit lane. Again, you're not allowed to take on tires, but that time on pit road I think would be beneficial for the drivers involved in accidents such as that one to be able to come down and get them fixed up a little bit more.
Yeah, and you think about how long these caution flags take here, Evan. We're already at that 5-minute mark, so that just goes to show how long these cautions take to get maybe some damage fixed on pit road, get everything set up. Talking about the pit road, no tires, but you can go down there and get some damage fixed, especially with Happy. You get sideswiped there, you pull it down, get a little bit of that fixed, get the dents pulled out, and get back out there. But it's still a long race, and normally you'll see Christian Peterson and Matt Cucker powering on that outside line, just trying to get positions, but you didn't see it on that start. You saw them retreat back, go single file, because they know how important the tires are at this place.
We prep up for a restart. Cone car going to be out as of this time around. Driver's going to have an opportunity to choose inside and out. It was interested in that Super Truck mid event a little bit earlier. So on the 2 restarts, race control cars choose both the outside, and then when it was eventually taken over by Peterson, he chose to take the bottom of the racetrack. This one, Connor Blaze wants to line up just as he was at the start, inside on road number 1. Not surprising that therefore on the outside of the racetrack, Blaze is, or rather Peterson, sorry, to get to go top side of Blaze, having not wanting to kind of subject himself to have to run a little bit deeper back on row number 2. The pace car, though, dives off and away, and we will see if the 56 can get going a little bit better on this one. Sure, he cleared Peterson, but the 23 gave him a fight for it, and that's what Christian wants to do this time around once more. Here we go, 7 laps completed. It is a better jump by the 56. Blaze clear this time to turn 1.
It's side-by-side action there for the 3rd position, as almost a little bit of door banging between Tanner Cook and Matt Cucker right there as they go still side by side for the podium positions, and later and back behind him, of course, many battles to come. But Peterson's actually got right back up to Connor Blaze right here. He had such a good jump, but then he's right there again. Looks like we had a motor blown in the front stretch that has no contact, just a blown motor, and we'll have to find out who that was.
We'll keep an eye for that as the race continues. Challenge going on right now, and the 96, I believe, is the one that's getting run over. It's Tanner Cook and Matt Cucker battling. They just, I believe, swapped out positions. The driver who lost that engine is Watkins, who will fall down to 24th and last spot on the lead lap. His night is done early, but battle for third continues, and there was a lot of contact last time with Cucker into the back of Cook, and that maybe was because Harded was into the back of Cucker. So watch those guys in and around the top 5, getting physical early on. I don't think malicious intent trying to move guys out of the way, just close quarters racing sometimes lends itself to that.
Yeah, and you see Cucker trying to go on the inside. He got on those bumps coming into the into 1 and 2, and you know how dangerous those things are with those cars. So maybe he's trying to get by Tanner Cook and not let the 23 and the 56 of Connor Blaze, you know, disappear from them, because it is a long race and there's a lot of time. But if you get held up and you stay content behind these drivers, it's going to allow the other drivers who aren't really, you know, held back to get away, and that's just going to be a hard, a tall order to face when it comes down to crunch time.
Obviously, battles going on all throughout the pack. There's a lot happening right now for 14th position. Brandon Wilkinson, who has a win in these cars, mired back in traffic, trying to fight right now with Lugo Vickery on the inside. They're side by side, while as well going side by side with the 40 and the 7. So a lot of close quarters action going on back here. In fact, despite the fact that they are over 5 seconds or so off of the race leaders, they were even 3 wide the last time around. So keep a close eye on this fight as well.
Yeah, some guys there in the back, they were 3 wide, and that was for really far back in the pack, you know, right at the top 20 position. So a lot of these guys were also the same guys who were really close to that wreck, and so they're pretty aggressive, despite knowing that, you know, another accident could swallow them up in it. So you know, I know they're trying to get every position to try and get ahead, but knowing that there might be a caution inevitable maybe in the clips, and looks like the 7 of Kyle Everall's going to go around the inside wall on the backstretch. So there's going to be no caution for this. Looks like he may have cut down, so Kyle Everall is going to have a bad day.
Yeah, Everall got turned. I think it was Reagan, if you look at the white lines, who pushed up a little bit. I don't think that the 40 maybe knew that they were side by side, and that 7 wanted to stay low because the 24 was up there, and they both tried to get into the same piece of real estate. There is no caution, and we will stay green because it is a single car accident, and Everall's machine was up against the inside fence along that very thin strip of grass down the back. It was not in the way. A tougher break for the 72 to not only get turned around, but to also not have a caution flying to let you catch up. He's going to be right in front of the side-by-side battle for the race lead. 3 wide, getting around him. Peterson to the inside and has it.
Yeah, and what a great move to capitalize on some lap traffic there. As you see the 56 of Connor Blaze diving it back down to the inside, not going to quite be there, going down into turn 3. So new leader Christian Peterson as we cross the line to take 19 caution out on the speedway.
Caution flying does now come out. It looks like it is James Krahulo, who was running in 10th position, 9th position at the time, but was fighting for that spot with he and Jeremy Adams. It was a good fight as we were watching some of the other stuff go on, and a very strange incident. It looked like they just kind of ran each other out of room going into turn number 3. And to get in a second look at that on the LSRTV replay, and he might have been okay, but because that pit wall is right there at the bottom of the banking, and there is effectively absolutely no apron down in 3 and 4, he got into that and then bounced to back up in front of traffic.
Yeah, and it looks to me, Evan, like the 89 made the turn into turn 3 just a little bit sooner than the 8 had anticipated, and it just sent the 8 going down onto the inside wall. Luckily, nothing else really came out of that, just a spin to the inside, and everybody else seems to be making through it clear. So unfortunate for them, but that's something that happens because you have to anticipate what these other drivers are going to do around you, or that those instances right there will happen.
We check things up again, and it continues the slowed pace to this late model main event. Working lap number 21 at the moment, just a little bit shy of getting to 1/3 distance, and at the time right now running at a little bit over 11 minutes. Again, having to keep a very close watch on just what happens in regards to the time clock. And again, laps are up on the top of your screen. More than likely, this race is going to end on laps, but if that time does become a factor, we will do our best to kind of keep you updated with that and let you know how that goes. goes. Let's take an opportunity, Chris, to just talk about what's happened so far this year in this late model stock division. We saw Christian Peterson win the season opening race back on week number 1, and we actually had an opportunity one of 2 times this year to get a double feature in these late models. Matt Cucker and Brandon Wilkinson took home the wins on week number 2, and then the last time we saw them, it was week 4. That was a different story, with Matt Cucker taking both of those. If you were with us for that one, you'll remember quite vividly that was the night Matt Cucker won everything in every single race on the night. So that's how we get to the 3 wins for Cucker and the 1 apiece for Peterson and Wilkinson to this point on the season. And right now, the 23, I think, is in a fantastic position to try to even up those numbers a little bit up front. I think, at least at the moment, might have the fastest car on track. Blaze Cucker right there, second and third, not that far behind, but Peterson has to like where he's sitting right now.
Yeah, he really does. And if we want to take a minute and talk about the winners here, you look at Peterson and Cucker. They're not that far away from each other. Cucker will be sitting in third, while Peterson, like you mentioned, is leading the race. But if we go all the way back to Brandon Wilkinson in that 26 machine, he started 22nd all the way up, 10 positions in that 12th position. So he's still got some work to do here, but there's still a lot of laps to do it. So Brandon Wilkinson, Matt Cucker, Christian Peterson, all good runners, but right now I'm looking at that 56 of Connor Blaze, because he's been really, really strong here tonight. He was leading a few laps, got lap traffic, and took the lead away from him. Christian Peterson was able to capitalize, but now they're all stacked back up, so I'm going to be looking to see what that 56 does now on the outside of the racetrack.
Drivers that time by chose the inside and the outside, and this time by, Peterson decided to take the bottom. It's the same lane that Blaze took the last time he brought us to the green flag. The 56 going to be topside. Cucker and Cook inside and out of row number 2 behind your race leaders. 24 laps completed as it is time by. Still a long way to go with 51 laps to go. Green flag flies once more, Coop, and it'll be a battle for second. Here comes the 69, and he's got the preferred lane.
Yeah, Cucker on the bottom has him really kind of where he wants him. Guys, now a good distance between him and the 23, but looks like the 56 on the outside, he's having a good run right there, and they're going to be side by side right off from turn number 4. And, well, I give it to the 56 of Blaze. He's doing a really good job on the outside, and being on the inside line for too long can be a bad thing. You're really using your car a lot more. Of course, you're also using it a little bit more on the outside, as you're not going to get that nice trajectory outside and inside of the corner as you would like to if you just yourself. So both of them using their stuff just a little bit more while they're watching Christian Peterson kind of slowly pull away.
And he's going to get further and further away if they don't figure out who's going to get that number 2 position. Really sideways that time at 1 and 2 was the 56 machine. And the 23's not really sprinting away, but you get a half a tenth here, a half a tenth there as the side-by-side fight for second continues. And eventually, you're going to be in a pretty tough scenario. So the 69 trying to finally clear after the great jump at a race start. He was clear barely, didn't want to slide up on Connor Blaze. And the 56 drives it in hard and keeps it on going.
And you got to think, Evan, is this battle right now really worth it? Because you got to think of the number it's doing on these two cars' tires, and the 56 on the outside, 69 on the inside. It's got to do work, but it looks like Cucker's going to get around him. But they were racing side by side for a lot of time, and we're only on lap 29 of 75 laps. So going side by side for that amount of distance this early can do a lot of work on those tires.
So that battle up front starting to settle down. Lets us to take a little bit of a deeper look at the field. And Brandon Wilkinson, somebody who I had just mentioned on that last run, was in a battle deep in the pack, is at it once more, continuing his march to the front. Breaks into single digits for the first time tonight, up to 9th with a pass on John Lyday. And then Lyday going to have to defend that 42 of Beverly on the inside. Once one person gets on that inside of the racetrack of you, that fight brings the guys behind back up to you, and it becomes very difficult to be able to work yourself back down in that preferred line without losing all those spots.
Yeah, and that's why there's such a big gap between Wilkinson and Tommy Ryan. There's over a second between them, and then the guys in front of them, there's just a long line of people. So, you've got to imagine that if you're Tommy Ryan, you've got nothing behind you to worry about. But as soon as you start fighting Gabe Wood, then you'll start to have an issue. But Gabe Wood does make a mistake off of 4, and they will start battling. So, I guess it gave the LSRTV curse right there. And Gabe's just going to let that one go, it looks like, for the time being. Maybe he's got himself a little bit of an ill-handling car. He's done really good so far. He's been up as far as 7th, and he's going to drop back to 8th right now. Still in the top 10, though.
And after starting 14th, having been able to get up to 7th as of the last time by, he does end up 8th as of this time by the start footage, so I meant that he was able to get halfway to the front of the field. So we'll see if he can continue to run strong. And now the issues with the 6 machine. Tommy Ron, all kinds of out of shape. Gabe Wood nowhere to go, gets into the back of him, and those two drivers make contact, and in the end, Ryan's going to be able to maintain the positioning.
Yeah, and somehow both drivers able to make it out of that with minimal amount of damage. Talking about Ryan, he didn't have the best of luck coming off of that truck race in the last race, so he's looking for some redemption right now, sitting in the P7 position, so doing really well for that driver. Been battling all the way throughout. Started 5th, dropped about a few positions, but now he seemed to have set it out really good. Meanwhile, just behind them and catching really, really fast, that 26 of Brandon Wilkinson.
Wilkinson continues his charge. In fact, he is the biggest mover so far tonight, up 13 spots, hotly contested by Tyler Lugo Vickery, who himself is up 7 positions. So is John Lade and such. And funny enough, we mentioned a couple of those names most recently for getting past. It just kind of goes to prove how well they did in the opening laps of this race. But up front, things have calmed down substantially. Christian Peterson's advantage is at half of a second over Matt Cucker, who runs P2, and it's about equal distance back between 2nd and 3rd, where pole sitter Connor Blaze trying to defend that podium spot, but he's under fire by Tanner Cook.
And Cook right there, he has been coming onto the back bumper on him for the last lap or two, and he's just kind of been gaining on him just ever so slightly, although he did lose a little bit that last lap, but he's there, and he's been getting that ground. I think the biggest thing for him right now is where to pass and how to get around it, because of the fact that Blaze is really good on the outside, and we've seen that. You know, it took many laps for both the drivers in 1st and 2nd to get around him. It took him a long time, and so I think Cook really has to make a move at a right moment. He's looking to the inside, doesn't have to dive it completely down into turn 1, but he did. He's going to try and get him off of turn 2. He's on the inside right here going to turn number 3.
And Cook started this race in 3rd, got passed by Cucker on his charge up to the front. They would like to get that spot back. Caution to fly. Get a fly again, and a couple of cars involved, at least Jacob Porter and Rory Blum.
Jacob Porter seems to get all bent out of shape going down into the corner with the 05 and the 89 just washed up a little bit, tried to keep it off of Jeremy Adams and then spun it down, but that's not where the contact came from, guys. Jacob Porter trying to get back up on the track, slams it in reverse right into the front of the 72 of Rory Blum, just not really looking on that 3 machine, back straight up and straight into the 72.
And I just don't think he saw him because of that pit road wall. Again, there is a little bit of an apron in 1 and 2 compared to 3 and 4. We talk about those rumble strips that can cause so many headaches, but I just don't think he saw Blum, and it backed up far too much. And I was initially going to say, if you're Blum, you have to be aware of that. But at that point, I don't think the caution was out. I think that race control was going to let that one go. A single car spin down and out of the racing surface. And if you're Jacob Porter, you just can't make that kind of a mistake.
Yeah, so just a really, really unfortunate thing. You know, you got to wait a little bit, make sure nobody's coming on the back, and you know, on Blum's part, you see the car down there, and it's almost like you can't really do anything at that point, because you're sitting there, you're acting like, all right, he's just going to stay there, he sees me, but then that car gets thrown in reverse, and you're basically a passenger at that point, because if he was to correct that car at that speed, he probably would have overcorrected maybe into the outside wall or even worse. But unfortunate situation for both of those drivers, especially Blum. But we're gonna stack them back up once again, and this time Peterson and Cucker 1-2, and the points gonna be 1-2 on the grid.
And that is going to lead you an exciting run down to the end of this one. This caution is going to bridge us inside of 30 laps to go. Again, still very tight on the time number, with about 21 minutes elapsed so far in this super late model, or rather the late model, stock main event. It could be a toss-up 50-50. I think if we get maybe 1 or 2 2 more cautions, we might end up with the clock being the end of it. But again, pacing at the moment, at lap number 44, the drivers approaching this as they have 31 laps to go. And this could be Cucker's best opportunity to battle for the race lead. It's taken him some time, but he has looked pretty comfortable working his way up through the field to get to the number 2 position. He's just going to have to do something with it. No better opportunity than if he decides to do so, as I would anticipate, by doing it alongside the 23.
And you also got to think here, Evan, we've crossed 45 laps here now, and we know how well that 69 and even that 23 get on the inside, or the outside line, I should say, when that rubber builds up. So who will want to take that line when this cone car comes out, as we are at the cone car at this position? So we'll see. It looks like Christian Peterson will not take the outside line. He faked it, went on the inside, so that's going to basically force Cucker to take the outside. But is that going to be good for Matt Cucker? Because we know how competitive they can be in that second lane.
This could be a critical turning point. First time the number 69 machine's going to be able to make it back up to the front row. Tanner Cook still 4th, with Blaze in 3rd on the inside of row number 2. That battle for 3rd is sure to continue, and all of those fights deeper in the pack that were just extinguished going to have an opportunity to reignite once more. Pace car off, though. Is this going to be the final one tonight in the Blue Ridge Napa Late Model Stocks? 29 laps to go from Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, and it is Peterson comfortably to turn 1.
Yeah, and as we get the battle for 3rd going on here, the 96, the 56 almost making contact going down into turn 3, barely keeping it off of each other. So the 56 gonna eke out the position for 3rd, still side by side, and just behind them, going side by side, that's Hardin and Green for the 5th place position.
The 96 doesn't want to give up on it either. Cook looking back to the inside of the racetrack. That's the positioning that he wasn't able to get on Connor Plays last time. Was so close. Needed an extra maybe half a foot to be able to get the positioning in 3 and 4. Is not able to do it. We are single file. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. First battle is for 6th at the moment, and it's a good one. Green on the inside and Gabe Wood on the outside. Not giving each other much room. They were real tight last time into turn number 2. Looks like Wood, though, maybe, even despite the fact that he's on the top side, might have the upper hand there. He's getting off the corner really well and powering down the straights.
Yeah, look at him go. He's really quite fast, and I didn't think he was that fast at the beginning of the run, but he's definitely got himself a longer run car in this daytime, and I think that's something that we haven't really thought about, is that this is a long run. Oh, wow, and Jody Green gets loose right behind him, and so he'll be under fire by Brendan Wilkinson as well. So Wilkinson on the inside right there, and they're going to go side by side for the time being, and Wood's going to leave them in the dust while they continue to fight. And then you've got, Tanner Cook gets a little out of shape right in front of him, right in front of Ricky Hardin, he's been really quiet all night long, so battles all over the place here, guys.
These cautions giving drivers who have been silent over the course of the night, but still there an opportunity. Hardin has only gone 1 position forward. I say only because the driver behind him has picked up 8, but that still means he's good enough for 5th on a racetrack at the moment. I feel like we're still waiting for some sort of a ball to drop, and that might have been it. Tanner Cook, all kinds of out of shape. He will hang on, but not before losing 4, now 6 spots.
And guys, you know these drivers have got to keep in the back of their mind that time limit. We're now past the 5-minute mark, so they've got just under 5 minutes left to try something. So they're giving it everything they got out here on this track, because they're only crossing lap 54 now. So you also got to think as a caution comes out here.
Caution with 21 to go here into big issues down in turn number 1. There is a lot of smoke and there is a lot of bench sheet battle. Robbie Bunden, first driver tonight, I see heavy smoke coming out of that Ford recent entry. He's also facing the wrong way.
Yeah, very unfortunate day for the 42, as there was a huge pile up going into turns number 1 and 2. The 40, the 24, just to name a few, and cars piled in there. So just unfortunate stuff as it goes around, and everybody trying to check up, and I think the 42 just got sent around. So unfortunate, and you also got to think time's running out here, Evan. They've got to get these cars stacked back up and give it their all, and try to make it to the end of this thing.
And that could also explain why those guys back there really didn't want to give each other much room. Time's running out, laps are running out. 24 had gotten sideways, and then the 40 did as well. And they both got kind of stuck on each other there, and nobody wanted to lift and tuck back down in line. And I think relatively similar to the very first incident we saw in the evening, that inside wall did not help anybody out because it shot both of those cars back up into traffic. And Bunden's machine, the first one that I saw, just based on all the black smoke that was coming out of it as he kind of rolled backwards and the wrong way down the track, he was not even a part, it turns out, as we saw in that second look, of the initial contact.
Yeah, so we'll have to see race control talking to the drivers right now, trying to get everything racked up. Two to go before they get the green flag, as we're now 27 minutes into this race. So they'll have time to get it started back up, Evan, but I don't know if they'll have enough time to get to that 75 lap mark. So it's going to be a crazy restart.
Pace car is going to dive down, I believe, the next time by. Cone car is out, and I would expect Peterson, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, to take the bottom for this one. Cucker, obviously, to take the top side. There were no changes on that last exchange, minus the fact that Tanner Cook, who was challenging to get back up to third on Blaze, lost a lot of spots after we saw him get sideways. He'll be replaced by Hardin on the outside of row 2.
So as we get ready to start it back up, flipped positions here. Peterson on the outside, Cucker on the inside, and also Blaze on the outside once again as well. We saw how he was able to hang out on the outside there earlier on the outside of Hardin. So we'll have to see what Cucker can do on the inside of the track now.
We will see this exchange for what could be the final time tonight. Less than 5 minutes to go on the clock and less than 20 laps to go in the scoring to pile on. There goes Peterson after he did decide to switch up lanes. Still just as good. Clear by 1 car length to turn number 1. Challenge is going to be for second. Blaze topside trying to defend Hardin, who's digging for his first look at the top 3.
Yeah, Hardin's been there all night long, and so you've got to imagine that he's going to try and get that position with anything he's got. You know, they've got about 4 minutes. I was just in the pace car, and they've got 4 minutes left around. So you've got to think that they've got a little bit of time, but they really don't have that many laps. They've only got 15 more laps, you know. And so you've got to say, if you're one of these drivers, looks like we got contact on the back straightaway.
Caution is going to drop for it. Contact and the yellow is out, and Randy Yoakum has spun onto pit road in the number 4 Jack Daniels entry. He's one of the drivers involved and actually is just another innocent victim behind all of it. The big contact comes with Jacob Porter, who is running in 20th position. 3 wide did not work, and he took a big hit to the outside.
And 3 wide is something so difficult to do with these short tracks, especially here at Myrtle Beach, so because it's so easy to run out of the room there. And unfortunately, Randy Yoakum, trying to get everything woed down, ends up spinning it out onto the pit road. So just goes to show that it can happen from anywhere on this track. You can think you're good, and then all of a sudden you spin out onto the pit road. So you gotta pick yourself back up. Got heavy damage to the back end of that 4 machine. So trying to go back green, 2 to go at the line this time by.
And almost like drivers have been getting involved in incidents just as often, if you will, from behind, drivers trying to check up. And I think this really only applies to the accidents we've seen off of the restarts. That's kind of the third one tonight within 5 laps of a green flag. But I think that drivers getting involved in accidents from the back actually about equating the amount of drivers who are getting involved in the initial pieces of contact. And that's not something that's entirely stereotypical of Myrtle Beach. We do talk about how the limited groove and racing line is somewhat restrictive, and everybody wants to be on the bottom, but it is a rather wide track to avoid these kinds of issues typically.
Yeah, and it's hard once these laps come down because you want to do a lot more take than you do give, and that's what we're starting to see here, Evan, is a lot of people taking, not a lot of giving, and it's understandable. High pressure situations, we get ready to go back green, same positions, Peterson outside, Cucker on the inside.
And this one is going to come down to the clock. Maybe only 2 laps to go. We'll find out when a white flag flies and how long is that going to be. There goes Christian Peterson. But that number 69 of Matt Cocker is still there. And we're going to go side by side for the race lead.
Yeah, they're trying everything they can. Cucker still on the inside, hanging on that left quarter panel, trying to get the run. As you look behind them, Harden is falling off of Blaze. Cucker still there as they cross the line. Shot down to the inside.
And he drives it in hard. It's going to be slow off for the corner, though. Can he stay side by side to turn number 3? The 23 doesn't need to clear Matt Cocker to get the checkered flag. He just has to beat him. Coming to the start-finish line. He does it again that time, but the 69 not giving up, looking for win number 4.
White flags in the air, Evan, so this is going to be their last time around. They're not going to make the regular distance, so it'll be between these two guys here at the front.
Final time to 3 and 4. The inside is yet to work. Does Matt Cocker use the bumper? He's going to come up short at a turn number 4. And it is Christian Peterson outlasting Matt Cocker on the outside of the racetrack. Second late model win on the season.
And what a crazy side-by-side battle since the green flag had dropped. What an amazing finish. Cocker gave it everything he could and everything he had on that inside line, but the outside line prevails. So win number 2 for that 23 machine on the night.
And the number 69 of Cocker down on the inside of the racetrack there tried to get what would have been a 4th win and what would have been a series leading, I might add, 4th win on the season. Unsuccessfully so. And those multiple dives down to the inside of the racetrack, I think they could have very easily, Coop, just gone ahead and made contact there, but the 2 drivers decided, let's stay off of each other, and were able to race hard, yet clean all the way through to the checkered.
Yeah, and they've always been like that, those guys. They've always raced like it's, like just like that. They've always raced respectfully and in a way that they can race really hard, but they're not going to absolutely move them out of the way. I'd say if it was, a championship on the line, which, with the weeks coming down, the lead between Christian Peterson and Cocker is going to get larger, but they know in the greater scheme of things that they'll be able to dish it back later. And who knows? I mean, as close as these battles have been in the points, you don't want something like that, just a simple move to turn into something eventually later. And they've always raced each other really cleanly, so it doesn't surprise me at all.
If you ever do anything to somebody on a short track, you can count on that getting paid back to you, and that applies to any circumstance in general, but of course, you never want to wreck a friend, let alone a teammate. Guys who just are able to work so closely together, their respective groups, and oftentimes, just because of how well they have performed in this series, oftentimes find themselves in scenarios just like that one. It wraps up, though, the late model main event on the night. We'll catch you with your winner in just a moment. First, as always, take a look top to bottom on the scoring pylon at your LSRTV full race results. Christian Peterson gets the win from the number 2 spot, was able to hold off charges by Cocker, Blaze, and even by the driver who fell down the standings a little bit later, Tanner Cook, to get the win tonight. Cocker ends up with a P2, and pole sitter Connor Blaze finishes in 3rd. Ricky Harden comes home 4th tonight, and Tanner Cook rounds out your top 5.
Finishing in the 6th position is Jeremy Adams. You got Brandon Wilkinson, biggest mover, from 22nd to 7th. And then you've got Jody Green, who finished in the 8th position. Jeremy Watkins finishes 9th. And then Richard Reagan Jr. finishes 10th.
Jonathan Lawrence going to finish in that 11th place position. Randy Yoakum 12th. 13th is going to go to Gabe Wood. Tommy Ryan going to be the last car on the lead lap in 14th. 15th goes to Jacob Porter.
Continuing through these drivers off of the lead lap, and I think for all intents and purposes out of this thing. 16th position for DJ Beverly. James Krahula comes home in 17th, with John Lyday in 18th, Jonathan Smith in 19th, and Colin Ullman in 20th.
Tyler Ludovic will finish in the 21st position, Robbie Bunn in 22nd, Rory Blum 23rd, Kyle Everalt 24th, and then Nathan Hurlbert will finish in the 25th position.
It's a look top to bottom at your LSRTV full race results. Second time tonight, chatting with Mr. Christian Peterson, who is your winner tonight in this Blue Ridge Napa Late Models division. Christian, congratulations on the win. Able to pick one of these things back up. First time since the first race in these cars. It was the same, I believe, in the Super Trucks. You won the opening race in that division as well. Got to win here tonight than them, and are able to take home the checkered flag in our longest race on the night. And it looked like you could kind of feel that it was long, because in any other circumstances, any other laps, you wouldn't have to go through as many shots at you. But late race restarts, this race ended up on time, allowed the likes of Cucker and Blaze to challenge you a couple of times, including on that final 3-4 lap dash to the end, but you guys were able to hold on.
Yeah, I was trying to play games with Cucker there, picking lanes there, and it almost screwed me there on the last one. I think we both got a little shove getting to the restart box, so that kind of made us get up and go a little bit quicker than I personally wanted to, but that it allowed Cucker to stay on my left rear and fight to the end. But I mean, I think it would have been a good race either way without the yellows, but those yellows definitely made it a little bit more exciting and a little bit more stressful behind the wheel.
Obviously, because this is a longer race, I think you have to no doubt take a different approach to it. Did you, having started in second position, and the objective is obviously to get going forward, you didn't know how this race was going to play out. You didn't know that it was going to end up on time. You didn't know that we were going to have X amount of yellows that we did by the end of it all. So you can't really just sag back a lot. How did you approach trying to get around that 56 machine first? Because I know the car obviously drives a lot better when you're not behind somebody.
Yeah, I mean, the main goal from the start was to just try to stay on Blaze's bumper and not let Hook or Cucker behind, or either those two get in front of me. I knew it would be hard to pass them back, so it was just keep them behind me. And once we got a little gap early there, I felt pretty comfortable racing Blaze, and I think he got a little loose coming out of one corner, and I just was able to get up under his left rear, and I had to work on it there for a couple laps, because I think that the lanes tonight were really even. The bottom was a little pushy, and the top was a little loose, so you kind of had to drive it pretty, you had to manhandle it on either lane, so it made for good side-by-side racing.
Another time when one of these races comes down to the end alongside with you at a bat there to a checkered flag. I know that we've seen that many a times this season. I fully expect it to happen many a time more down the road. What's it like racing with them? That close and that good, but on a week-by-week basis.
Well, that one right there, I mean, it was fun, but definitely didn't want him there, you know. There's a few laps left, and I know between him, Blaze, Cook, and Jeremy, they're the top 4 guys to beat, so it was going to be tough hanging on the outside, but I was able to pinch him down a little bit, and he raced me clean, so I got a hats off to him for that.
We'll let you get out of here again, but as always, the sponsors and the shout-outs, it makes it happen for you.
Same thing as last time. Vincier, Six Man, all you guys for broadcasting, putting on the show. Want to shout out my buddy Yanks and his wife. I think they're watching the broadcast. My girl right here cheering me on, and yeah, that's it.
We got the 305 wing sprints and a couple of other ones coming up as well. You racing in those?
Yeah, the 305s are going to be hairy, and it should be a good show.
Looking forward to it. We'll let you strap in. Best of luck in that. Congratulations once more.
All right, thank you, Evan.
Christian Peterson, he's won now in the Super Trucks and in the Blue Ridge Napa Late Models division. Can he go 3 for 3? Because tonight's outlier, our special event non-points on the night, is coming up next. The 305 winged sprint cars are headed to the asphalt Myrtle Beach Speedway. You are not going to want to miss that one. It comes to you when we return to the Myrtle Beach Speedway. You're watching LSRTV's continuing coverage of the Myrtle Beach Simulation Series, presented by the Championship Esports Association on your home for sim racing.
Chris Page. I work here at iRacing. Been here 2 days before launch, actually, is when I got started. So we have developers working on front-end web development. We have back-end guys specializing there. We have DevOps that are dealing with networking, servers, a database team, so many different teams because there's lots of different work to do. The new user interface, which we call Scorpio internally, is a complete overhaul. So in the case of results, the way that it has historically worked is you would request results. The request would be sent to the server, which would then query the database, compile that, and send it back. What we're doing now is whenever we get the results of a race, we'll compile those results and push them up as a static page cached so that when you need it, it's available for you. It doesn't need to be computed on the fly. It will be much faster and scale much better. Just began with reimagining the website. We took a step back and said, how do people use this? How do people want to use it? And our initial vision of leveraging the web and getting your stats there, finding out a schedule and joining, that was a good one. And we want to continue to support that as much as possible. We're also making a change so that you'll be able to just double click on the application and fire up and go racing that way. Jump from one race to the next without even leaving the application. The good news is this is a whole new infrastructure, so we'll be able to release it in parallel, and you'll be able to use the existing member site you're comfortable with, but still fire up the application and get the new experience. And that will really help us because as good of a job we've done, there's still things we can learn. And by running it in parallel, we'll be able to collect that data and make it an even better experience. We'll be able to learn by your input. So with the preview of the user interface, you'll be able to use the new feature Time Attack and be able to experience some of the existing functionality, but we still haven't done everything, and that will come over time. We're going to have tighter integration with the sim and the back end than we ever have before. So as an example, in Time Attack, whenever there's a new best lap time, we take that lap data and we push it up into the cloud. What then happens is when you're in Time Attack, you're launching a session, you can pick anyone's best lap time and race against it, whether that be a friend or the leader in your current competition. When you fire up the sim, it will pull down that data and you can race against that lap time. We're looking forward to getting this out to you because we've been working on it for a really long time, but we're super excited about where we're going because this is only the beginning.
The NASCAR Beginner Series powered by iRacing is the premier NASCAR esports series featuring the cars and tracks from the Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series. The 2016 campaign saw a return to the top of the mountain by Ray Alfalla as a three-time NASCAR World Champion. The march to that championship was not easy, though, despite the fact that Ray Alfalla took home the most points in series history. It just also happened to be the tightest championship fight we had ever seen. These guys are set for the 2017 campaign, and as it has been for the 7 years prior, it is no longer going to be a straight shot to the championship. We are going to see the biggest change in this championship picture in series history, as for the first time ever, there will be a chase for the championship. We're going to go into the Homestead Miami Speedway at the end of the season with the 4 best oval sim racing drivers in the world absolutely tied in the championship. You just got to beat the other 3 guys out and you will become an official NASCAR champion. You're going to get yourself a NASCAR championship ring and, of course, $10,000. These are the iRacing Esport World Championships, the pinnacle of sim racing competition. You can catch it all season long, live coverage on iRacing.com/live.
iRacing, you wanted the best, you got them for a breast. Often imitated, never duplicated. The greatest show on dirt, the World of Outlaws.
Welcome back live to the Myrtle Beach Speedway as tonight's exciting special event gets underway. Just stepped aside with you with the conclusion of the Blue Ridge Napa Late Models division on this Myrtle Beach Simulation Series presented by our friends at the Championship Esports Association, and that was the main event. This is the special event, and these are some newer cars to the iRacing service as we welcome you back topside to the LSRTV booth. Evan Pasoko, Austin Coop, Chris Murdoch with you. And Coop, these aren't necessarily cars built for a track like this. It's the 305 winged sprint cars on asphalt, and I can't really offer much analysis or preview until the green flag drops.
I do have a little bit of insight for it because I have been, kind of keeping an ear in the middle of it all. And to be honest, I mean, they're going to be exactly what you think they're going to be, but they actually already have heat in them. They took some warm-up laps, and so the ticker might show a little bit different. So, we'll definitely see these guys in action here very shortly, as I do believe they're going to be picking up the pace here in just a second. But, they already have heat in the tires, are ready to go, and it's going to be really fun to watch.
And the pace car now begins to roll, and they are going to take the green flag the next time by. Let's take a look top to bottom real quick. It is going to be Tanner Cook and Ray Farlow on row number 1, along with Matt Cucker and Jerry Adams on row 2.
Then you've got in the 5th position Kyle Everalt and Jacob Porter, and then John Lyday and James Crahula will be in the following rows. And then starting in the 10th row or 10th position is going to be Ryan Christian Peterson after, and then Harden and Green.
Look top to bottom at how they shake it out. Let's go asphalt racing with dirt cars. Here comes Ray Farlow. Green flag flies, and we're racing from Myrtle Beach Speedway. A 30-lap main event tonight as the top 2 get clear. The fight for 3rd is on.
Yeah, Tanner Cook doing a good job of getting himself out front. He looks like he knows exactly what he's doing. Him and Ray Farlow. And Ray Farlow is actually a veteran in the regular sprint cars, not the non-winged asphalt version of these. So you know him very well in these cars. And for Tanner Cook to have such an edge on him is actually quite surprising. But it is a different little tool that they're using here at this track. And he's got himself a half-second lead. This is really fun to watch these guys actually go around this track. Can't imagine there's going to be too many battles. Looks like we do have one around the 6th, 7th position side by side right there. This will be fun to watch.
And with these open air cars, if you will, you can really see the drivers working on the wheel as they try to wrestle these things around the racetrack. But at the moment, I think single file, Peterson in 9th, and look, that 11th Chidolade in what was 8th position we're finding. They're going to swap things out. So Peterson on the move, closing in on the 8 of Crahula, who really struggled that time, but in turn number 2, and they'll go 2 by 2.
Yeah, and you can just see how upset these cars are coming out of the corner. You saw the 8 of Crahula fighting it on the outside, but you can see him get a little bit sideways coming out. Peterson getting a little bit loose, but he's actually on a tear right now, guys. 10th to 7th and only about 2 or 3 laps. So be watching for that 23 machine to make an appearance at the front.
Seeing if there's anybody kind of working in on each other. No immediate 2 by 2, but I think you have to imagine that these cars are going to get worked in a little bit more as the night goes on, and they're going to drive a little bit better. Drivers might pick some things up here and there, so I think watching the intervals is the best thing that we can do. But you can take a look at all those up at the top of your screen, lap by lap by lap. Closest fight I see at the moment, Kyle Everalt and Christian Peterson. That 23 snap-on entry continuing his march to the front after starting way back in P10. He's on the inside of the 7.
And just about everyone hit their peak that last lap. Looks like almost everyone made their fast lap on lap 10, and just about all of them are kind of, that's kind of where they peaked is lap 10. A couple of them are still running faster laps, but that's kind of the way it goes. They'll hit a peak eventually on these tires where they get it as warm as they can, and then they'll kind of they'll fall off pretty soon. So I'm expecting to see that pretty quickly. Is that some of these guys you think they're loose now, is really going to get looser as this race goes, and you're going to definitely see that. Peterson, yeah, on a charge, but it's all Cook up at the front, and he's got himself an absolutely large lead. And then you've got to look at Ray Farlow and Matt Cucker in the 2nd and 3rd position. I think right now they're trying to just hang on to these things. I mean, these are not easy cars to handle.
These cars are going to continue to get lighter as the run goes on. Speeds may continue to creep up and up and up as you see the non-existent battle for the race lead at about a second. Christian Peterson trying to make a move on the 3 of Jacob Porter. This one is for 5th, and that 23 seems to have his MO figured out. Wants to keep that car, Chris, on the bottom of the racetrack right up against the wall and is really not walking it up off of the corner. Even other drivers who are single file exit low and walk it all the way up top side. The 23 not doing that as much.
Yeah, and I think that's where you're seeing the speed come in. Peterson having a great run of these cars so far, 10th to 5th as you just mentioned, and he's not stopping there. He's got a little bit of a gap to Jeremy Adams, who's just now going down into turn 1, but nothing that Christian Peterson can't handle. Meanwhile, like you mentioned, Tanner Cook all the way up at the front, about a 9/10 gap to that 72 of Ray Farlow, so I don't think anybody will be touching that 96 machine here tonight.
Still comfortably out in front. Farlow has, as you said, he's kind of balanced out that gap at about 9/10 of a second, which it could be good news if we get a restart, because that means at least at the time being they are running equal times to each other. But I agree in the sense that if we don't see something like that happen, or Cook make a mistake or find himself in any sort of an issue, get it around lap cars, that he's going to be able to make up that much time simply on his own. Nothing is impossible, but at least for the time being, the 96 appears to be well in control, and you can just see it when you follow it around the racetrack. A lot less jerking that wheel side to side. He has that car set up a lot better, and he kind of have a better clue of what it's going to do, and using that throttle almost to turn it and walk it up the hill off of the corner his own without having to kind of seesaw back and forth to keep it straight. Still happens. Tight call that time at a 4. Nothing's perfect, but a little bit less of that than some of the other drivers. That mistake did cost him some time, though. Farlow to 7/10 off.
10 laps to go, and Farlow is absolutely catching him. And Cook, I think, he tried to see what would happen with the rumble strips down in turn 1, and it didn't work out very well, and he lost a lot of time there too. And I expect him to chip it on that lead, but it looks like he lost a little bit that time. You can't make a mistake at all. If you have to correct a mistake, you're going to do double the damage, but that's what you've got to do when you get this car sideways. And I don't believe any of them are getting completely out of the throttle either, just like you would typically on dirt with these cars. So this is really intriguing to watch these guys go around, and how difficult it really is to handle these things.
This 30-lap main event continues to work closer and closer to just 10 laps to go. Caution and incident-free so far to this point. All 12 drivers who took the green flag continue to run on the racetrack, and I think it's almost like the Darlington complex, if that's the way we want to refer to this, Chris, where the drivers, we do see side-by-side fights with one another, but I think they're more so fighting the car and the track than one another. They take their focus off of each other, and they really just focus on trying to get around this place in one piece. As Krahula, he's definitely focused though on Kyle Everalt in front of him, going to the inside, trying to make it side by side for 7th.
Yeah, the 8 and the 7 doing battle right now, side by side, going down into turn 3. This is where things get hairy, because as you mentioned, they are fighting this track more than I think they are fighting anybody else, and it will be unforgiving because these guys can't have a lot of practice in this. This is not common. That's why it's called a special event, as the 8 of Krahula makes that pass with ease on that 7 of Leveralt, so move him up a spot. So they don't really have a lot of practice, so it's still a lot new to these drivers, so you got to give them some slack, but they're doing great out here for what they've been handed.
And in that fight for 7th, Krahula was able to get the spot. Leveralt, I think, is going to want to at least try to come back on him, but I'm not convinced that is going to happen. Up front, though, the gap begins to close ever so slightly. It is only a 30-lap main event in this thing. The ticker's going to show 35. The opening 5 laps on the board will run under caution flying conditions. Just to explain that for you very briefly, I'm not sure if 30 laps is going to be enough. Maybe 60 at the pace that Farlow's going. He's not putting down blistering laps, but he is the quickest car lap after lap by just a couple of tenths, a couple of hundredths here and there, and it might put him close, but not close enough with 6 to go.
Yeah, 6 laps to go, and man, he is I mean, he's getting him every time. And I think he's using those rumble strips to his advantage, almost to get the car kicked out enough so that he gets the advantage of turning the car, but not too much where he's out of shape. And Cook right there at a 4, and Ray Farlow as well. They both get a little bit out there, and you got to think about the draft here too. That's also something that you won't typically see at a short track, is these cars are massive out on the track. And, well, he is pulling them, and they look almost identical there through the corners. So got to imagine that maybe a little bit of draft is helping here at a short track.
And the key then would be to obviously stay in that draft and stay in that wake. It is going to take a little bit more of a toll out of your tires because you're not necessarily ignoring those around you and running your optimum line. Even if Cook is running essentially the same line as Farlow, because he's lagged behind him, he's going to be turning in a little bit earlier to stay behind. He's going to be turning out a little bit earlier to stay behind as well. And you have to deviate a little bit from that preferred line. The battle for the race lead, though, going to be the closest it's been since lap number 3 to 0.3 of a second. But with 2 laps to go next time by, still not sure he'll make it in time.
Yeah, still got a lot of work to do in that 72 machine, but he's done quite a bit just to get where he's at right now. Like you mentioned, coming to that 2 laps to go mark, going down the back straightaway, Cook is able to pull him going in and out of 2. It's 3 and 4 where Farlow is able to make up his time, and he gets a little bit loose out of turn number 4, so that's going to hurt his momentum. 1 lap to go.
Final time, the 96 just has to stay out in front and not make a critical error. Racetrack is clear in front for pole center Tanner Cook. Strong throughout. Might not be the fastest at the end, but it'll be the first to the checkered flag. And your 305 wing sprint winner is Tanner Cook.
And he was coming. They just talked on the radio, and Cook said he was coming, and he knew it, and he basically just had to be solid there towards the end. I think you said it correctly. You know, he just had to be solid. He couldn't make any mistakes. And Farlow actually pitched it in there pretty. You know, we're using dirt terms right here, but he pitched it in the corner really hard. And you know, I almost wonder if he was that hard in the corners, the last few corners, if he might have caught him, but he didn't. And Tanner Cook kept himself out front, and he's actually able to do a burnout in that car here on the victory lane.
Which is impressive, I might add, for the number 96 machine. It's only a 305, so I'm not sure he's going to be able to start popping wheelies on the front straightaway, but a little bit of celebration on the asphalt for the driver of the number 96 machine, Tanner Cook, taking home tonight's special event win. He can now successfully claim that he is the first and what may end up being the only driver to ever win a 305 winged sprint car race at the Myrtle Beach Speedway in this Myrtle Beach Simulation Series. We'll get his thoughts on a unique race in a moment. First, a look top to bottom at how they all came home after a caution-free 30-lap contest. Tanner Cook takes home the checkered flag tonight. Ray Farlow comes home in second, with Jeremy Adams in third and Matt Cucker in fourth. Interesting to note that all 4 of those drivers finished in the exact order in which they started this race. Christian Peterson, the first mover in the race on the scoring pile, and also the biggest mover, goes +5 to come home in 5th.
Finishing 6th is Porter, who also started there as well, and then Leveralt, he'll finish in the 7th position. Ricky Harden finishes 8th. Jody Green will finish 9th. John Lyday will finish 10th, and then Ty Ryan and James Carhula will finish 11th and 12th.
It is a complete look top to bottom at your full race results. Let's now chat with the driver of the number 96 machine, Tanner Cook, your 305 wing sprint winner tonight for Myrtle Beach Speedway. Tanner, congratulations first off, but kind of sounds weird saying that. It was a fun race, though. We enjoyed mixing it up a little bit here in the middle of our regularly scheduled programming, if you will, and it looked like you were having fun because you were out front for all of it.
Yeah, it was definitely fun. I think Kyle came on to something with this setup he came up with. It produced close racing all through practice, and we all had a blast practicing together.
What was the preparation, obviously, just getting used to the car, but coming into this thing, because we do have special divisions in this. I think the U cars are a good example of that. We're going to be seeing those actually next year. We also have, some other divisions that we run on a more regular basis for points, such as the mini stocks that aren't your conventional oval cars in general, not just specifically the asphalt cars, but these things aren't necessarily built for racetrack like this. You're used to throwing them into an Eldora Speedway and slotting them in a dirt, and they really weren't sideways that much in that sense. You guys were really working the wheels to keep them straight, but you had to drive these cars like you would not normally, I guess is what I'm trying to get to.
Yeah, it was definitely a lot of throttle control. And unlike dirt, these things weren't really loading up on the right front. I don't think we used the right front at all. It was really all dependent on the rear tires. And we worked and worked and worked to get the throttle management down, because if these things get sideways here, you was done for. I mean, I could tell every time I'd get loose, Farlow would catch me 2/10. It was hard work, I guess.
How much at the end of that race there? I think the furthest it got out to, it might have hit a second a couple of times, but it looked like it had balanced out at about 9/10 of a second. And next thing you know, a small bobble out of 4, he closes in 2/10, and the first that I'm thinking is, okay, it was just a small mistake. He made up some time, not a big deal. And then he really started to put the pressure on you to the point where if this race was maybe 5 laps longer, it would have been a different result. How much in those closing 10 laps were you keeping an eye on him, and were you feeling the heat coming from behind?
I was definitely keeping an eye on him. I mean, all race. Farlow, he's a heck of a sprint car driver, asphalt, dirt. I mean, there's very few times I've ever seen him lose in a sprint car. So to really beat somebody like him and in this type of racing is pretty good. But I'll give it to him. He drove the wheels off of it and always kept it straight.
You did as well, and it was a fantastic victory for you and the number 96 team. So we congratulate you on that, Tanner. We'll let you take off, but first the sponsors and the shout-outs makes it possible for you.
I got to thank Kyle for letting us run this. It's his car, so all to him. I guess all of us ran his car because he's the only one that messed with the setups of them. So I got to thank him and you guys for broadcasting.
Well, as always, anytime we get an opportunity to chat with somebody down at Victory Lane, we appreciate you giving your time to us. Congratulations once more on the win. It was fun, and for our sake, and maybe for yours as well, because it worked out pretty good, I should say. Maybe we'll see these things down the line, and if we do, we hope to see you then.
I sure hope so. Thank you.
That is Tanner Cook. He's your winner tonight in the 305 Winged Sprint Cars. 3 races tonight. 3rd different winner so far. The U-Cars division, though, is back. We haven't seen them for the last 2 weeks. It's been, if you look all the way back to week number 3 on the season with the off weeks and such, it's been a little bit over a month since we've seen the U-Cars. Austin Coop strap it in. He'll be driving in that division, and we look forward to bringing you that one in our U-Cars main event coming up next at LSRTV at iRacing Live, and that one will be followed by our final race on the evening, the second Super Truck feature tonight. Both of the upcoming races are 25 laps. So keep it locked here to LSRTV at iRacing Live, and when we come back, the U-Cars hit the Myrtle Beach Speedway on iRacing Live.
actually, really enjoy dirt racing. Feels good to get in the car, and we have, great cars and engines and things at KKR, so it's nice to drive a fast sprint car.
Couple of separate lines developing, three wide action on a turn two. Craig Kinzer, Casey Kane, and Garrett Pittman going at it.
I think the differences between, NASCAR and the sprint races on dirt is just a much different mindset. The way you drive your cars, the setup, the feel you're looking for. I think one of the hardest things to tell as a fan is when you're watching a race, whether it's a NASCAR race, a dirt race, is just what's really going on in the car. With iRacing, you can get the way that the track's changing, which they've done a great job in how the track changes throughout the night or throughout the race, just to try to capture it and let the fans play it and realize, like, man, there's actually a lot going on, and you can't always see that when you watch a race. So I think it's pretty neat. It's, enjoyable for me, but at the end of the day, it's actually much of a simulation, and there's a lot of ways that you can learn from that. And, early on, it was neat to look at the Cup tracks that I was going to, places that I had never been. So I think it kind of gives you a head start leading into a weekend. It's pretty real life, and that's pretty neat.
Welcome back live to the Myrtle Beach Speedway as LSRTV's continuing coverage of the Myrtle Beach Simulation Series presented by the Championship Esports Association continues deep into the night, as we're happy to have you back for race number 4 to 5 on week number 6 of contest, and the U-Cars are back, so it is just myself, Evan Pasoko, and Chris Murdoch topside with you, because Chris Coop is downstairs in the car once more. I promise I will do it at some point, but the 53 machine is going to be carrying the flag for us in this one, and it's happy to have one of the most exciting and unique divisions back with us for week number 6. It's been a while since they've been on track.
It has, and I've kind of missed it, Evan, and it's kind of my favorite, and I hold up my promise to say I will strap in to one of these cars and give it a whirl once I get the chance. But Coop has done a great job. He's got a win so far, so that is something to be proud of, but a lot of competition, a lot of stiff competition out here as we get ready to get this race underway.
And unlike in the 305s, sure, there is still a novelty to this, seeing Pontiac Solstices race around a short track, but this is a series for points that is going to continue over the course of this 17-18 campaign. And tonight, I believe, just double checking my numbers to confirm, is the 4th U-Cars division race on the year. Jody Green, Austin Coop, and Gabe Wood are the drivers who have won Indies so far this year. Do we see a 4th different winner in 4 races? We'll find out momentarily as we go trackside and take a look at your starting grid. Jeff Grayson will start on pole tonight in the number 54 machine, and he will be joined on the front row by the number 1 of Garrett Maines. Brandon Wilkinson and Connor Blaze, more familiar names, back on road number 2, starting 3rd and 4th respectively, with Joshua King inside row 3 and P5.
Jody Green in that 13 machine will be starting P6. 7th goes to Randy Yoakum. That 53 of Austin Coop will be starting off in that 8th position. 9th goes to Glenn Matthews. Running out your top 10, that 6 of Tommy Ryan.
Norman Cross is going to be just behind in 11th position tonight with Rory Blum in 12th. The unlucky number 13 starting spot tonight goes to Ricky Harden, I should say. Tyler Lugo Vickery going to be alongside him in 14th with James Krahula in 15th.
16th is going to be DJ Beverly, and Gabe Wood in that 09 will round out your 17 car field.
far tonight, we've seen Christian Peterson win in the Super Trucks and the Blue Ridge Napa Late Models. Tanner Cook, most recently your winner in the 305 Winged Sprints. We have this U-Cars Division main event as they line them up 3 wide as we get set to go green flag racing for Myrtle Beach Speedway. It is going to be a 25-lap dash. The Super Trucks feature immediately following this one will also be a 25-lap dash to the end. So we hope that you keep it locked with us at LSRTV, your home for sim racing through the course of the night. We have seen races in these cars in which somebody has been predominantly quicker and has been able to get out in front, and we have seen races the complete polar opposite. How does this one shake out for week number 6 of the Myrtle Beach Simulation Series? Who gets a jump in the front row? There's 3 of them, with Grayson in the number 54 machine working on the inside as the control car. Green flag in the air, and we're racing.
Yeah, the 26 of Brandon Wilkinson not off to a great start. Had a mirror full of that 13 of Jody Green. Everybody trying to smash out, but right now it's going to be Garrett Maines in that number 1 machine out to a commanding lead. Brandon Wilkinson able to get some speed, go up to second. Meanwhile, your pole sitter, the 54 of Jeff Grayson, battling the 13 of Jody Green as they go off on turn 1.
And Green in the 13th machine working on the outside of the racetrack, trying to continue to move that machine around the place right now. The inside is Jeff Grayson's 54 machine. They look pretty even, although I think the U-Cars might actually be better topside, which would be in retrospect to anything else. And look at that 54 to Grayson trying to bully up into line. Connor Blaze could have just as easily lifted and let it happen, had none of it though, forced his way topside and gets a spot.
Yeah, and he's now got his sight sets on the 35 around, backing it down the back straightaway. Somewhat looks like, but a heavy crash on the backstretch is all going to start around coming out of turn 2 with that 53 of Austin Coupe not having a lot of room there in the 35. They all just kind of came together, takes them around, and more cars get involved as they're all trying to slow down, Evan.
It crosses the first driver that I saw sideways, and he just got turned completely separate of that accident. I thought he might have got tagged when the 33 came down the hill, but it was not the case. He just braked on the 42 at EJ Beverly. Didn't have an opportunity to check up in time, and the 83 might have actually been the one who got the worst out of this because he ended up at the inside wall. Very good driving, I might add, for Joshua King, who kind of coasted backwards as to not slam the brakes and lock up in front of anybody else. The 35 so good for so long until he backed it into the inside wall. So he's not able to completely escape without harm. Again, could have been a lot worse. They're going to red flag things as always, regroup everybody else back up so they could rack them and stack them once more for a restart, which will come inside of 20 laps to go after this early yellow.
Yeah, and I always like, as you see him doing it right now, Evan, lining up on the 3 wide start to kind of puts a wild card into the already wild card race of having Pontiac Solstices on a short track. So they're all running once again. Gonna get the green flag this time by nothing much changing except that 54. Your pole sitter Jeff Grayson gonna knock all the way back. You see him in the middle there. He's gonna be all the way back in 5th. So he's got some more work to do to try to fight back up to the front.
And they are going to line things back up 3 wide once more. Keep it on the drivers at the inside. Race control, letting the guys in the front row know you have to go when you come to that restart line. And you cannot make an attempt to get any sort of an advantage beforehand. Really tightly packed, though, together like a can of sardines in turn number 4. Restart with 5 laps complete. And this time, the middle of the place to be. Can Wilkinson dart to the race lead?
Trying, and he does clear the 1 and the 13. Meanwhile, stack up just behind them as they're turning and getting sideways. Huge wreck. The 24, it looks like, still spinning in front of Austin Coupe. That's going to be Tyler Lugo Vickery, I should say, as it all got hairy there.
And the terrible pun I can tell you is it's not going to be victory for him today, because he got into that 4 machine and just everybody started to get stacked up, and it was some pretty significant contact in the middle of the pack. The guys up front, though, unfazed, still battling for the race lead as the 26 of Wilkinson drops back a little bit. It is Mains and Green side by side. That 13 machine was very good in the opening 2 laps of it by being top side, but he'll be in the middle. Look at the move to the inside by Connor Blaze, making it 3 wide for the lead. Tight on the inside, not given an inch.
Not an inch to be given there. They're still 3 wide going down in the corner for the most part. Now singing out 2 wide. Jody Green on the inside of Garrett Mains going down. Blaze trying to get up front in front of Wilkinson, but to no avail. Wilkinson going to be on the outside of that 56 machine, going to single out for the lead, but just behind them, it's anything but.
So we single file out the top 3 for the moment, but there are drivers coming. I think that Blaze is a perfect example of that. But how about the 8 of Krahula? 6th last time by, will be 4th this time around, right there. And there is no separation up front. The one thing that I find so trivial about these cars is they've got headlights and you can see the brake lights, so you know exactly what the guys around you are doing in the quarter. And we saw Green give a shot to Mains. That time wasn't really a lot to move the one up out of the way. In fact, it might have only hurt the 13, but we have 6 cars within 7/10 of the guy up front.
Yeah, and look at the outside of the 13. That's going to be the 56 once again, trying a different lane this time to gain some positions to no avail. He's going to have that 8 of Krahula all over the back bumper of him, getting the run off the corner down the back straightaway. Though is that 56 of Connor Blaze going to maybe clear the 13? Not quite. Just behind them, another battle. That's going to be the 26 of Brandon Wilkinson and the 42 of DJ Beverly going at it for that 5th place position. But everybody going to be side by side, or for the most part side by side, except for Garrett Mains, who's basically commanded this field ever since the drop of the green flag.
Mains started this race in 2nd, but ended up again on the inside of the 3 wide, which I think is the best place to be. Outside of row number 1, 3 wide might as well be a spot out of row 2, just because you're at such a disadvantage. And this is really the first time now, crossing the halfway point this lap, that we've seen separation up front. He has been in front, and he has been able to kind of single file himself out in front of the likes of Blaze, in front of the likes of Wilkinson and Brayson, but he hasn't pulled a couple of tenths. He's at 4 right now.
Yeah, 4 tenths for that one of Mains. Blaze, however, has been on a blaze to the front as a caution's out, gonna put that flame out just a little bit, and the 56 to 26 spinning out. The 42 is in it as well. If DJ Beverly stopped going down into turns 1 and 2, we'll have to see what happens. Looks like some contact, just I'm not really sure what happened there. Brandon Wilkinson a little bit too close for comfort on the 42 of DJ Beverly there, Evan, and sent him all up into the outside wall, and Wilkinson around, the 42 around, hard crash before they even made it to turn 1.
And that's just a product of guys going at it. I think that Beverly was trying to split a gap, stay to the inside of the 26, but work to the outside of Jody Green and maybe get 2 spots with one swing of the bat. Wasn't able to do so, and just came up on that 26, and it was a big hit for him. The incident that we saw previously, the hard hit, if you will, was just kind of a slap to the inside wall. Beverly's car is destroyed, and it's definitely going to take him out of this race as he limps down to the pit lane. And this will bridge us as we stop the cars at the front straightaway, line it back up 3-1, and get set to go again with inside of 10 laps to go in this race. I think that if we go green the next time by, it will be right at 10 laps to go. That last run prior to this was 9. So just to give you perspective on how much can happen in that amount of time.
So as the front row looks right now, it's going to be Garrett Mains, Connor Blaze, and James Krahula up there. So a lot changing this time around here, Evan, is now we're seeing the 09 of Gabe Wood up there in the middle now. He's trying to make his way up all the way from the 17th position. So what a run for that 09 machine as we are getting ready to go back green this time by. Should be interesting to see if Blaze can get up there to the one of Garrett Mains.
You're gonna go at that line, coming out of turn number 4, not the start-finish line, but that restart box line is when the guys up front can go. Look how tight Jody Green is on the back bumper of the 1. Can Garrett Maines get back out in front and maintain his race lead? Green flag flies once more. The 54 of Grayson damaged. Topside struggles to get going as a two-way battle for the race lead leads to turn 2.
Yes, still side by side. Blaze on the outside, and that 56 going to get right up on Crowhula. Crowhula out of shape coming out of turn 2, or maybe just trying to dive to the inside there. Either way, not working out. Everybody's still going straight here as they come through the turn 4 down the start finish line. 9 laps to go this time by 56 still outside of the 1 of Maines. Now Crowhula gonna be on the inside of the 56, so Connor Blaze dropping positions. Contact between them as they go off into 3 and 4.
Contact also back in the pack with Lugo Vickery, but it is not going to bring it a caution. We are going to stay green, and here comes Crowhula to make a play for the race lead. The 1 of Aids moved up, gave him the inside, and they're going to be 2 by 2 for the race lead as Blaze pushes that 1 of Maines all the way through the corner. It actually might have helped him out, get back up in front of the 8, and he's going to slide down, protect the bottom now.
Yeah, and just behind them, the 09 and 13 still doing battle. That's Gabe Wood and Jody Green battling for that 4th place position. Gabe Wood gonna clear the 13 going down into 1, maybe try to join this battle, make it a 4-car battle for the lead as James Crowhula back on the inside once again. Then you see the 56 do it once again, Evan, pushing that 1 of Garrett Maines down the back straightaway into the corner and just keeping them even for right now as Gabe Wood almost made contact with that 56 machine. Now Blaze gonna make a blazing move down to the inside, can't stop with the pun. 3 wide for the lead as Crowhula is eking them all out on the back straightaway.
And you just gotta hope that they can continue to race like this without somebody making a mistake. The 09 of Gabe Wood now to the inside of Blaze. Thought better of it though, checked up, kinda hesitant, and it's not gonna gain him any ground. Might lead to a fight for 3rd. Not gonna happen though as Blaze stays in that spot. Now he'll try to squeeze 3 wide. That might not work as the 56 just inches to his inside and outside as he fights to maintain P3.
And that is what makes drivers grip their wheel the hardest, Evan, is you could barely fit a piece of paper in between those 3 cars as they're going off into turn 3. Everybody's settling out. Now Blaze is going to make it by. No, not quite yet. Still on the outside. Maines now going to have the 8 of Crowhula back all the way up to him. 3 wide. Look at the 09 of Gabe Wood. Contact between the 56. Going to almost send him down the inside wall. How was he able to hold on to that? Still side by side with the 1 of Garrett Maines as they cross the line on lap 22 coming to lap 23.
Inside of 3 laps to go, and that contact back between the drivers at 4th and 5th has created a lot of separation. The fight now is for 2nd. Maine's going to stay in front of Blaze, and coming to 2 laps to go this time within half a car length of the 8 up front. Spinner out of turn 4 though. Jody Green into the inside fence. No caution as we stay green to watch the battle up front. Crowhula block it all the way to the apron.
Yeah, Crowhula trying everything he can to keep that lead. Maines all over the back bumper, pushing that 8 all the way down the back straightaway, trying to get a lane, and he does on the inside, just sticking the nose in there, trying to get anything he could. But look at Blaze coming up the inside, white flag. 1 more lap to go this time by.
And you can see the 8 feels comfortable by taking that inside line away. He'll take the shots in the back end. He just wants to protect the bottom. Can Connor Blaze play spoiler to the back of the 1 of Maines? Maines wants to go low. Crowhula will not let that happen. Here comes Connor Blaze throwing it in for P2, and it's only going to help James Crowhula, who clear at a turn number 4. Checkered flag and wins the U-Cars feature.
What a drive by that 8 machine to keep blocking that 1 of Garrett Maines. Maines going from 2nd all the way to 4th in 1 corner just by that move from the 56 of Connor Blaze. Gabe Wood was able to get by the 1 as well. James Crowhula comes home in the U-Car division as your winner.
If that was a move that, Gabe Wood had made when he was right there in the battle for second, rather Garrett Maines, who ends up actually dropping an extra spot to fourth. If Maines threw it in that hard, he would have easily been able to get to the back of Krahula and initiate that contact. But because it was Blaze, he didn't make it cleanly through to second. And when he brushed up in that fight for second, it slowed both of those cars down and essentially handed this thing uncontested to Krahula. If that didn't happen, I feel like it would have been a lot more of a battle to the end there.
It definitely would have there, Evan, but you cannot take away from that drive from the 8 machine. He made that car as wide as the track could be, blocking all the way down to the inside line, all the way down the front stretch. He made that car and did exactly what that 8 machine had to do to come home in this U-Car division as your winner.
It was an exciting one, and we will chat with your race winner in it all in just a moment. First, as always, your LSRTV full race results for tonight's U-Cars division. James Krahula, you're, I guess, tied when you look at the stats for biggest mover on the night. Picks up 15 positions to take home the race win tonight. Connor Blaze comes home in second. Gabe Wood also went plus 15 to come home in third position tonight, with Garrett Maines coming home P4 and Randy Yoakum rounding out your top 5.
Coming home in that 6th place position is going to be the 72 of Rory Blum. Ricky Hardin, 7th. 8 goes to that 6 of Tommy Ryan. Jody Green going to finish in the 9th, and rounding out your top 10, the 53 of Austin Coop.
Continuing to round things out here just outside of the top 10, Brandon Wilkinson comes home at 11th position this evening. Sean Cross is 12th. Tyler Lugo, Vickery mentioned he was in an accident without a caution in that final run, ends up in 13th position. Your pole sitter, Jeff Grayson, tough go at it. That car has seen better days, and it comes home at 14th tonight with Joshua King, P15.
16th goes to Glenn Matthews, and rounding out your 17 car field, the 42 of DJ Beverly.
That's a look top to bottom at your LSRTV full race results. We now chat with the driver of the number 8 machine. James Krahula is your U-Cars division winner tonight. James, congratulations not only on getting the win, but just how you did it. You started 15th position and found yourself fighting with guys who started 4th and 2nd and 7th. How'd you get up to the field first off to get into that position?
Oh, I don't have a clue. That was just fun. Those cars are just horrible to drive, which is what makes them so fun to drive. Yeah, I don't know how I got up there, but that was fun.
We were happy to have this series back, as we noted before the drop of the green flag, but a couple of weeks since the U-Cars have been back with us, and it is a series in which we've had into 3 previous races, 3 different winners, and you're able to add your name to that resume. Do you think because of just how unique these cars are, not that it makes it more difficult for drivers to dominate, but just that it's a little bit more of a toss-up? I think that you don't have guys who race these cars and have countless hours of experience in them like you do in the late models and the trucks and such, and it makes it such a wide-open contest.
Yeah, that's probably a fair assessment there. I mean, I took the lead, and then they were coming right back, and we're blocking down to the grass on the front stretch, and no one runs that line here at this racetrack. And yeah, I mean, you have to do things in these cars that just don't make sense in any other car. So, I mean, it's definitely unique for sure. That was definitely fun. I just get to come and run for fun. No points for me. So it was all about the W, and man, that was for my first time in that car. It was pretty fun.
And based on the performance, we'd like to have you back in these things. The ability for a non-oval type car, if you will, to be able to, kind of beat on each other and lean on each other. Typically, the issue you have if you're not in a stock car that's got the big fenders and such is you really can't beat on each other because you're going to hurt the cars. You guys did not look at all reserved to use the bumper to kind of throw it in there. We saw the Hail Mary move by the 56 try to go for your back bumper in turn number 3. How much can these cars take and keep on ticking?
I accidentally made some contact there, and it was definitely by accident, but I didn't upset the car that I hit, so I'm like, well, all right, let's lean on each other a little bit. I'm not a big guy for racing dirty and everything, but you could definitely be a little more aggressive than you can in other cars for sure. So you don't have to worry about an accident that's going to wind up ruining the race of the other person. And yeah, that was just a blast. I'll quote Jody Green, that's the most fun you could have with your clothes on.
It was exciting to finish nonetheless, and even best for you because you guys come out on top. The sponsors and the shout out to powers that 8 car.
Oh, just thanks to Unacceptable Racing. Kyle Barnes, I've been having fun racing over here, and more involvement with him, coming up next year and all that type of stuff. He runs a great league, and I just can't wait to see where, Championship Esports winds up heading.
Are we correct to assume that you'll be hopping back in the Super Trucks next?
I'm joining as soon as you let me go.
Well, you got a race winning those, so we'll let you get another one and get out of here. Thanks for chatting, James. Best of luck there, too.
Thanks, Evan.
That is your U-Cars division winner. James Krahula becomes the 4th different winner in the U-Cars this season, but also he is your 4th different winner in just as many attempts as well. Tonight, last 3 races have all gone to different drivers. Christian Peterson, though, becomes the driver with a target on his back next. He opened the night with the Super Trucks division win, and he looks to close it with just that. The Super Trucks division feature race number 2 and the final race of week number 6 of this Myrtle Beach Simulation Series is next on LSRTV and iRacing Live when we return to the Myrtle Beach Speedway.
iRacing, you wanted the best, you got them 4 abreast, often imitated, never duplicated, the greatest show on dirt, the World of Outlaws.
Welcome back live to the Myrtle Beach Speedway as week number 6 of this Myrtle Beach Simulation Series presented by the Championship Esports Association begins to round to a close tonight. 4 down, just 1 more to go, and the Super Trucks return once more. Second time on the night we've seen them. Christian Peterson took home the checkered flag in the first one, but he's going to have to do kind of what he did in that first one, to be honest, and that is come from back in the pack and fight through to get to it. And because of the invert, we won't talk about about that entire grid quite yet, but there are going to be some fast drivers starting up front with a big advantage in a very short 25-lapper.
Yeah, you can imagine that this one's going to start and probably finish as quickly as it gets started, and so getting from the back to the front is going to be pretty difficult. But we've got a lot of players in this race. You've got Matt Tucker, Ryan Wood, and Gabe did a fantastic job in that last race. Albeit it was just the U cars, but he went from the back to almost winning the race at one point. So, he's definitely probably really feisty to maybe get one of those trucks into victory lane. So, Krahula as well. He was just that to win. He just got that win. So, there's a lot of good hungry drivers out here.
It is a smaller field compared to the average so far tonight, Chris, but again, these trucks are nice and big that I think that might actually work in a favor of the likes of Peterson and the other top finishers who are going to end up mid-pack because of the top 8 invert.
Yeah, it's definitely not going to be as tall of an order for Peterson to get back up there to the front, especially where he's starting at tonight, just looking at the order. So he'll definitely have a lot of work to do, but not as much as you would see from a 20-car field.
And the cars are headed trackside, so talking about that invert, let's take a look at just how they will line up for tonight's Super Truck main event number 2 on the evening. And it was James Krahula who had a fast car earlier tonight, but who wrecked out of that race and came home deeper in the pack, who will start from pole at the NP8 Designs entry, and he will be joined up there by Tommy Ryan. I believe those two drivers brought us to the green flag in the last race as well. DJ Beverly, Matthew Tucker will make up row number 2. They'll be 3rd and 4th respectively, and Gabe Wood is P5.
Starting 6th is going to be Jody Green, Ricky Harden 7th. 8th place is Christian Peterson, and then Randy Yoakum will start in the last position.
Look at your LSRTV starting grid. 25 laps. We've seen it many a time this evening. Just recently in the U cars, earlier tonight in the Super Trucks as well. The only difference is, and it is a difference, I don't want to overstate it nor understate it, but these trucks do drive a little bit differently at a Myrtle Beach Speedway that is under the lights. That's why, Chris, every time we have an evening where we have these kind of double features, the first race of the 2 is always in daytime conditions. That way the second one is in nighttime conditions. Makes no sense to do 2 races of one kind in the same daytime conditions. So we will see if maybe that plays to any driver's benefit. Cooler temperatures and maybe a little bit more grip, and opens up the door to maybe being a little bit more aggressive in these things.
And it really does, and that's exactly what I love about this series here, Evan. It adds, a depth to the races, because you could race 5 races at Myrtle Beach same time and everything, and you can get some good racing and be done, but for them to time change it and have everything change, no matter if it's a double feature, they still have the tracks changing, so you're never really used to how this track acts. That's exactly what I love about this simulation series, and it's definitely going to make this race interesting.
Race car going to go down 25 laps. We'll see how the opening laps of this thing play out. I would think that more green flag laps would help those deeper in the pack try to work their way through. But James Krahula primed in a fantastic position to go for the Super Truck win. He won it back on week number 3, and it leads us to turn number 1 and 2 this time. Trying to clear Tommy Ryan. Not going to be able to do it. The 6 car stays high.
Got 2 spinners off turn number 2, but it's green up front until now. There is a caution flag that'll cease the action here on lap number 1.
Randy Yoakum is one of those drivers who has looped around at a turn number 2. It looked like simultaneous individual car spins. When I first saw it, I thought Harden might have got turned, but it doesn't appear to be the case, and both drivers working in turn 2, Chris, just lost it in unison. It's almost identical.
Yeah, it's what I like to call not a synchronized swim, but a synchronized spin. And it just goes to show what we saw earlier here, Evan, when they were fighting the grip off of 2, and that time you saw it from 2 cars, Jody Green and the 4 of Randy Yoakum. The 4 of Randy Yoakum did tag the inside wall just a bit, getting some back-end damage to that car. So we'll have to see how that affects his car and see if he can get up to the front once again.
So they're going to go green this time, but at turn number 4 as we get set to go right back at it. No changes through first through P6. Only change for position to Christian Peterson. Went from 8th to 7th and dropped Ricky Harden back to 8th. Both of those drivers restarting on row number 4. Keep an eye on that 6th, though. Tommy Rahn, I think, was going to have a good shot. Coop the battle for the race lead if that one stayed green. We'll see if he can get that jump once again on the outside. Not the case. Krahula much better that time.
And Beverly's going to be right there on the inside as well. Tommy knows that he's got to get a good run on the outside, and he does. He gets a pretty good run on the outside. So they'll keep going, and then there's a big cluster right behind them, right outside of 5th place, and then looks like Christian Peterson, he's going to go looking for 5th place this lap, actually, right at turn number 4. So that's where the action is right now, and Peterson's going to get the job done.
Peterson trying to work his way through traffic quickly and efficiently at the beginning of this race. He's already up the P5. Would then set his sights on the 43 of Matthew Tucker as they go single file into 3 and 4. You can see that 23, though, just a lot better turning in the corner as the battle for second place may be going on in front. Beverly looking to the inside of Ryan, not going to do it. And Peterson looks like relatively easily slides up to 4th.
Yeah, we mentioned how it would be hard for him to get through the field. Started 8th, now all the way up to 5th, but he's kind of proven us wrong here, Evan, because he's made quick work of all the drivers that he has had to pass so far and has already got his sight sets on the 42 of DJ Beverly already on the back end of that Chevy. So we'll have to see how Peterson stacks up behind him. Meanwhile, up front, James Krahula, no contest from the 6th Tommy Ryan, as he's about 5/10 ahead of that 6th machine as the 6 goes really wide into turns 1 and 2.
And here we go now, a 3-way battle for the number 2 position. The Tommy Ryan machine has not been able to make up for the ground he lost on Krahula off of the drop of the green flag, and it is going to be a spirited battle behind the number 1 position with the 42 of Beverly on the inside, and Peterson breaks early, tries to cross him up. Ryan going to give up 2 and maybe more spots as Peterson slicing down to the inside, now 3rd and maybe 2nd if he can get around the 42.
It's not going to be as easy of a task getting around him, but you know, I see that Peterson is just absolutely on fire. He's got the night setup hooked up, and he's still doing fire, and Tommy Ryan almost spins that off at turn 2. These guys are having a little bit of trouble here at nighttime, but battle still for 2nd. Peterson on the bottom still, and looks like he's going to just about clear him. Not quite yet, but going down to the turn 1, I'm sure he's going to have it here, but the 42 is still going to be vigilant and still try and get to him as Peterson does clear him for the 2nd position.
So he's been able to get through efficiently in the opening race tonight. It was from P6 to the race lead. This time had to start back just 1 more spot on the grid in line, 2 spots on the scoring pylon from 8th position. And as we cross the halfway point in this Super Truck main event, Chris, he's already there. You can ignore the fact that he's passed 6 drivers. It is now just like he and Krahula duking it out, just as they did last time.
And if you're the 8 machine of James Krahula, can you cue the Jaws music there, Evan? Because if there was one truck you would not want to see in your rear view mirror, it'd be the 23 as he gets his horn really loose off of turn 2, managing to hang on, so that lengthens the gap between the 8 and the 23 for just a short amount of time.
Yeah, the 23 machine, you really can't afford to give up much time, although he does have still a good 11 laps to go as the next time by to be able to get up there, but it kind of eases some of the pressure on James Krahula. Peterson obviously now has to get a little bit more aggressive. It's not a position that you want to put yourself in. I think he should be okay, and he's going to have ample opportunity to battle. Fantastic run to make up for that 0.4 of a second faster that lap than James Krahula was to get right back to the doorstep.
Yeah, it's not an unknown knowing how fast that 23 is. He's just basically sizing up Krahula and trying to make himself get himself a good executed pass. He's going to the bottom right now. He's going to get the inside, which is kind of where you want to be here at this track, and sometimes the outside works as well, but he's had the truck souped up. They can't make a mistake right now as they're going side by side for that lead. Looks like Peterson, he might have the advantage going out of turn 4. 4 really looks like the bad corner for the number 8, and so he'll get this lap right here, and he'll get the lead.
He's clear on the inside. I was thinking maybe Krahula was going to break early, let him go and kind of pull that crossover that Peterson did to go from 4th to 2nd in a handful of laps, but he's just too quick, I think. And he gets clear, and you can see him now just stretch it off the corner is where that 23 is ridiculously fast.
He is, and he's able to hug that white line on the bottom, even get close to the rumble strips in 1 and 2 there, you see, but he's just able to get that run power off the corners, and even with that little mess up that added a little bit of extra heat to those tires, he was able to get them cooled back down fairly quickly, or maybe it just didn't even matter for that 23 truck, because he is off to the races and it is smooth sailing from here on out. All he's got to do is watch those tires again, make sure he doesn't have that big of a slide out of 2 while leading this time.
6 to go so far, besides that very early caution flag, which I actually thought would hurt Peterson because it took a couple of laps out of his opportunities to be able to try to pick up spots. But now, though, smooth sailing, and he does not want to see any yellows. Krahula, Beverly, Tucker, 2, 3, and 4 on the racetrack right now, I think can only bank on something along those lines to help him out, because Peterson continues to go that time by 0.4 faster a lap again than the drivers behind him.
Yeah, he's just got a quick setup. I think that's what it really comes down to. Not only does he have the speed, he's also got the setup. You know, and a lot of these guys, I think, underestimate how good the setup is on Peterson until you're on the track, and so really got to think about what these guys are thinking whenever they get on the track. So, you know, it's got to be one of those deals where you've got to keep working at it on the during those off races and continue to work towards it.
Next time by, the Popsicle 6 will be in the air. It'll be 2 laps to go for Christian Peterson. It looks like a pretty good amount of separation amongst everybody on the lead lap. No immediate side-by-side battles, and Peterson only going to have to work around lap traffic. Jody Green set to fall a lap down. If he does, it would leave 8 drivers on the lead lap.
Yeah, and quick work, Jody Green is going to go that lap down. Coming out of 2, nothing really happening. Everybody pretty much spread out. All eyes on that 23 of Christian Peterson as he gets the white flag this time by to hopefully get his 2nd truck win of the night.
And the challenge was there. He had to come through the pack. The invert did not help him at all. But at the end of the day, Christian Peterson remains just too fast to catch in these super trucks. And he's going to get his 3rd win in them on the season and his 2nd on the night. Peterson sweeps the super trucks for week number 6.
It's something we see quite often on LSRTV on Wednesdays, is that 23 in victory lane, and we'll see another one. You know, I think you couldn't even count how many wins he's got total in the last since the year on the Wednesday nights, combined with the Cars Esports Tour, on both your hands and your feet. So with each of your phalanges. So definitely an incredible feat by him, and he's gonna do a burnout and show us how it's done.
He's had ample practice in that number 23 machine, in this car, in this series, and I think more broadly under the championship esports banner, as Christian Peterson locks up another one and is able to take the buzz away from tonight after coming off of a race, a couple of weeks ago where we saw one driver win a bowl, and then the following week where we saw 5 different winners. Peterson takes 3 out of 5 on the night. Those are pretty impressive stats, and we will get his closing thoughts on it all for a 3rd time tonight down in that victory circle trackside. Before that, as always, top to bottom, here's how they came home for the final race of week 6 of this Myrtle Beach Simulation Series. Christian Peterson, biggest mover from 8th to P1, takes the checkered flag. Pole sitter James Krahula was fast, just not fast enough to defend that U-Cars division win. We were talking to him. He comes home P2 tonight. DJ Beverly, Matthew Tucker, and Ricky Harden round out your top 5.
Finishing 6th, Tommy Ryan, and Gabe Wood finishes 7th, and then Randy Yoakum and Jody Green will finish 8th and 9th.
Look at your complete full field rundown tonight for the Myrtle Beach Speedway. Let's hear the thoughts on the night from the driver of that number 23 machine. It was another impressive go at it, and he gets the job done once more. Christian Peterson, Super Trucks Division race number 2 winner on this evening. Christian, congratulations again on the win. Kind of what we alluded to when we were talking to you in that last one, and had known that there was going to be an invert, that you had to get through the field. And I was thinking that, 8th is a lot harder than 6th. I thought that extra row would really give you a little bit more of a headache there, but it looked like you guys had the same amount of speed. I want to know, though, did that first caution help you at all? Because it came out early, but that then dropped you on the inside of the racetrack, and it looked like you really aggressively worked that bottom line to pass folks.
Yeah, I wouldn't really say it hurt. I lost a spot on it. I thought I'd gotten by Jody Green there before we got the yellow, and then they gave it back to him, which is fine. I was able to make quick work of that on the next restart, but I think I would have preferred to be on the outside again. I thought the outside was going to be where to go, but I could really just put the thing anywhere I wanted. I put a little bit of track bar in it compared to the daytime to free it up a little bit, and it was just, the thing was on rails.
Close it in there on Krahula, obviously. You had a little bit of a mistake when you first got up to him. The truck got really out of shape. Was that just you getting a little bit ahead of yourself and almost getting tempted to overdrive the car, getting to him? Or, did the car just kind of react like you didn't expect it to? Because when we saw that, we thought, okay, maybe you heated up your tires and it was going to be difficult for you to get back up to him and kind of force you into making a mistake, which is something that is very difficult to do given your experience in these cars and in this series. But were you at all concerned after that had hurt you and that maybe you weren't going to get to him, despite the fact that you went 8th to 2nd in the opening half of the race, that you weren't going to be able to get that one extra spot that you wanted?
I was definitely pushing hard. I was trying to get, I was trying to go up there and race him as early as possible. I figured it was going to be a little bit harder to get by him on the bottom just because he was real fast last week and he's been good all night tonight. So I didn't expect it to happen as quick on the bottom there. That's why I was pushing like I was, and I just caught the rumble strip a little bit, and it made the left front hop, and I got a little sideways. I think DJ actually took the worst of it. He reacted to me wrecking, and it made him spin out, but I kind of feel bad about that. But I wasn't really concerned about the right rear after that.
Obviously, it's another impressive evening for you guys. We're able to pick up a win last week. Last time we saw you guys out in the Legends division, and obviously before then had a little bit of a dry streak. But it looks like you guys are starting to kind of find that mojo again and getting wins. 3 wins out of 5 on the night has to feel pretty good.
Oh yeah, I can't complain about that. These trucks are super fun. It was the series that I was most looking forward to, just because got a lot of power and a lot of weight to haul around this little track, but it was super satisfying getting that late model stock win again after Cucker dominated the week before. So it felt good to beat him, especially side by side like that.
And we look forward to the likes of your battles with him, your battles with Krahula, and many of these other guys continuing as we really start to get into the heart of this Myrtle Beach Simulation Series. But it was an impressive night for you. You guys walk out of tonight with the most checkered flags out of anybody, I believe, for the first time since week number 1 of the championship, when you guys won in the Legends, the Super Trucks, and the late models as well. So a tip of the hat to you and a congratulations on that for the entire evening. Who do you want to say hi to for making it possible?
Just everybody who's watching. He does an outstanding job with this series. I know we had a little special event there tonight. That was super fun. Those cars were super hard to drive, and hats off to Tanner Cook there for bringing home the W and all that. But just enjoy racing here, man. Like I said, shout out to everybody at Six Man Events here and Beast Racing and all that. Can't wait for next week.
The race winner tonight in 3 of our main events, Christian Peterson. Christian, it's always a pleasure chatting with you. Congratulations once more, and we'll catch you back out next time and see if that 23 machine's got the speed again.
All right. Thanks, guys. Have a good night.
Peterson gets the job done, guys. And again, very interesting to be able to look back on the past weeks that have had different races and different divisions, respectively. And again, first time that Christian Peterson, despite the fact that it feels like he wins week in and week out, Coop, to have the most wins in a race week since week number 1 on the season. Matt Cucker's been able to do it. Jeremy Adams has been able to do it. Peterson finally does it tonight with 3 wins out of 5 on the evening. And in the ones that he won, it didn't appear to be close. When he wins and when he's in something that he's comfortable in, he is just really, really good.
Yeah, and I think for me, I'm waiting for someone to step up aside from the typical GOAT guys, Cucker and company, to come up there and get a good setup and really challenge them. Because I do feel that just the extra effort that they put outside of the race is helping them the most. And I think there's a bunch of guys that are out there that can do it. I just think their time hasn't come to shine, and I think it will happen sometime this season. It's a long season. It holds up until February, so I feel that these guys will be able to do it. Not right now. Right now, he's on top of his game, and I think it's going to be pretty hard, at least at the moment, to take him out.
But look forward as this Myrtle Beach Simulation Series continues, Chris, as we work into the month of October. Plenty more of action with this series coming up in a week's time. Also, the Cars Esport Tour are going to be back with us again in a few weeks for their season finale. So while that series is rounding to a close, there is a lot of Championship Esports Wednesday night action still coming up for us throughout the rest of the year and well into 2018.
Yeah, they do a great job in the esports and even the Cars Tour and everything. You know, Kyle Barnes does a great job at anything he does when he admins, and he does it to the best of his ability, and I think that really showed here tonight with the quality of racing. Had such an amazing night all the way around. Can't wait for the next time we get to start them up at Myrtle Beach.
And we hope that you're with us then. We also hope that you tune in with us through the rest of the week on LSRTV and iRacing Live, including in 2 days' time on Friday, October the 6th at 9 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time. The Super Speedway Cup Series is back with us. And then the start of what are going to be busy weekends for the next couple of months. The return of the United Sim Racing PNC Lawn and Landscaping Truck Series is at 10 o'clock this Saturday night on LSRTV and iRacing Live. You can find a full look at our upcoming broadcast schedule on the web by logging on to www.livesimracing.com. And may also keep it up to date with us on social media on Twitter at LSRTV and on Facebook at facebook.com/LSRTV official. Until next time, though, on behalf of the entire team who makes things happen at LSRTV and Live Sim Racing LLC, for the folks behind the scenes, Laura Lawson, DJ Line, everybody who's up here in the booth night in and night out, and of course for the broadcast team tonight. For our producer, Cisco Scaramuza, for Chris Murdoch, Austin Coop, and myself, Evan Pasoko, I want to thank you for joining in and congratulate tonight's race winners, Christian Peterson, Tanner Cook, and James Grahula, all taking home checkered flags. The Myrtle Beach Simulation Series is set to return to LSRTV and to iRacing Live, and when it does so in a week's time, you can catch that action and every race on the ongoing 2017-2018 campaign right here on LSRTV, your home for sim racing. Until next time, good night.